Hard man meat. This panelist is looking for a competitive cutthroat cruiserweight to battle at the next Karate Combat. He's driven over 50 million mobile downloads, and now he's looking to drive you into the dirt. In 2021, he remembered that where there's smoke, there's fire when he laid the groundwork that later became Play Ember. It's the night of knockouts, the punching pioneer from Play Ember. It's John Hook.
Oh, buddy, I was joking when I said change the intro. That's epic. I was like, oh, fuck, who's this? Legend. It's great. It's great to be back here, man, and doing like a proper gaming space around all this meme coin celebrity shit that I've been on recently. So, yeah, great to be back.
Appreciate you, man. John had the last minute bailout of Consensus and then last minute bailout of Good Morning Vietnam. But you know what he didn't bail out of? Fucking Gamified. What a legend, dude. Great to have you. From 360s on the slopes to 360 no scopes, he's been snatching dubs from the jaws of defeat since the dawn of time. Whether it's at the helm of a sporting goods empire or stacking soulbound NFTs, he's now the head of community and partnerships at Shrapnel, the ultimate enforcer of engagement. He's the Spartan of Web3 gaming, having played over 300 Web3 games despite the industry's best efforts to break his will. But alas, at the break of dawn, he was snapped up by one of the best that Web3 gaming has to offer. Now he puts on his helm as the sharpshooter of Shrapnel, the undisputed king of controllers. The redemption arc continues for another week with Dub.
God damn, new intro, who dis? I just got back from grandma's house, and let me tell you, I am chock full of so much goddamn energy, I can't even handle myself. People thought I came and woke up on the wrong side of the bed, but I didn't even sleep in the bed last night. I've been up all freaking night, loving life. We're getting ready to go to Gamescom in Brazil in 3 freaking weeks for STX 3.1, and I can't wait for it. Thank you, Sam.
I'm just gonna have Dub fucking wake me up every morning because he's got more energy than I've ever forgot I had. Up next, he's gone from nerd to next level, shifting from back-end developer to business developer, but the goal remains the same, crafting user-friendly tech that's changing the game. He's a begrudging X-Board API Club holder, and he runs it down mid in Dota 2, but he's narrowly escaping the purge list month after month in the Wolves DAO. Welcome to the panel. It's the Mustache Maestro, the secret of Stardust. It's Andy Adams.
Narrowly escaping the purge is amazing. It's exactly it's exactly the truth. Gotta stay relevant, to quote me at Consensus. Thanks for having me up. Super stoked to be here, and it was great seeing you last week.
Did this man just quote himself? Is it Edgar Allan Poe?
Yep.
All right. Emerging from the esteemed echelons of Nintendo, where he wrote our childhood dreams into the fabric of reality, making the fantastical familiar and the virtual visceral. He's now standing at the forefront of the future, fusing the fantastical finesse of gaming's golden era with the uncharted universe of Web3 technology. This man's not just making a game, but instead engineering an epic, embedding intelligence so intuitive it blurs the boundary between the born and the built. He's the pioneer perched at the pinnacle of progress, the architect of artificial wonder, the Nintendo nostalgist, and the reimaginer of reality. It's Michael O'Connor from Today the Game.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, amazing to be here, to be back on the show. Still kind of trying to process, like, through giggles and confusion, the fact that I think that we opened up these intros with the phrase 200 pounds of man meat. Still working on that internally, but I think I'm finally getting to the other side.
Hard, man meat. I believe you missed the phrase. It was rock hard was the first part there.
A crucial miss, actually. Yeah.
Jerry in shambles that one was not dedicated to him. I'm sorry, brother. Maybe
Dude,
next
from
week.
your DMs, I thought you were going to talk about. I thought that was going to be mine. Like literally, I could pull the DMs. I thought for sure you were talking about me. I was like, you got my weight all wrong, dude.
You're like 145, dude.
I also thought it was my intro.
Raise your hand if you didn't think that intro was for you on the panel.
Every man here got excited, and then we were all let down when we found out it wasn't us.
Up next, kick in the door and wave your 4-4 because this next panelist is hitting you over the head with his knack for knowledge. It's a king of charisma, a baron of bravado, making you knock on wood for good luck just to keep up. He's a spellbinding speaker and a phenomenal friend, perpetually knocking it out of the park like Barry Bonds in a softball league for 12-year-olds. He's the marketplace magician with Magic Eden, transforming trades into treasures until he's knocking back some champagne as the #1 marketplace on planet Earth. Brace yourselves for the dynamo of digital deals, the emperor of esports, the master of Magic Eden. It's Knock.
I just want to say that I am honored that is the 4th new intro in the last 3 weeks. That's fucking incredible. Sam must have been on an absolute blitz recently. Shout out to Andy. This man during karaoke brought out the craziest karaoke song choice I've ever seen in my life, and then just delivered an S tier performance that is still playing back in my head. If you weren't there, you probably should have been. Fucking incredible. That dude's got some pipes.
Absolutely can confirm. Also, another thing I want to confirm, my timeline for the last like 48 hours has been nothing except for ChatGPT is down. But the intros are still new, baby. So you do the math, haters. His background might be in traditional finance and wealth management, but he's the gaming degen and a Bitcoin believer at heart. From LAN parties in the 90s that make DreamHack look like a Chuck E. Cheese and stacking GPUs and milk crates to mine digital gold, he's putting his money where his milk is. As a competitive cyclist, avid rock climber, and triathlete, he's the most athletic nerd on this panel, and that's going to cause some fights. Now he's building Star Atlas, possibly the most ambitious game in all of Web3. So welcome to the panel. It's the Sultan of Cycles, and call him the Weekend because he's a motherfucking star boy from Star Atlas. It's Michael Wagner.
Let's go. What's up, man? Good to be here. First time on the show. Feels a long time coming here, but really excited so far. Having a great time and looking forward to the talk today.
Can confirm it's long overdue and great to have you, brother. And up next, in a world cluttered with conformity, actually, Sinja's not here. All right, Sinja, we're moving on. Emerging from the epicenter of EA games and entering the echelon of excellence at Avalanche, endowed with an extraordinary ensemble of expertise and an exceptional eye for innovation, it's the emperor of execution, the envoy of everything electronic in the elite ecosystem of blockchain gaming, with enigmatic excellence and energetic ensemble of extraordinary ideas, ensuring every endeavor is exhilarating. You know he's the Arctic architect, the exceptional executor, representing Avalanche. It's Ed Chang.
Hello, hello. Great to be here. Sam, I always thought you used ChatGPT for these intros, but now I know you've got 30 liberal arts majors locked in your basement in Utah, cranking these out every week. Aside from that, it feels great to be in Web3 gaming right now. So many awesome play tests going on. Can't wait to hear the latest from everybody. I'm feeling bullish. Let's go.
I think that's your cue, Sam.
You always got to steal his thunder, Knock.
He's forgotten how to use the mute and unmute button.
Test. Am I back?
You're back, baby.
We're so back. All right, I don't know what happened there. He's the master mason of the meta, hailing as the co-founder of Web3 Game of the Year in 2023. After building parallel universes full of possibilities, he's not just content with 2 leading titles, so he's crafting a third called Wayfinder. With a guitar pick in his pocket and a seed phrase in his safe, he's the pioneer at the forefront of the frontier in gaming and in governance. And by the way, he's also the unofficial office supplier of Gamified, but he's also the prince of parallel, the blockchain bard. It's Koji.
What's up? I'm like both happy and sad that somebody else got a rock climbing intro and it wasn't me. But really happy to be here, and I'm excited to hear that I'm the unofficial office supplier. So if you guys need any paper clips or staplers, just let me know.
And Koji can confirm I exist because I actually met him at Consensus for the first time. It was amazing.
That's true. That's
he
true.
is rock hard. In
Was
fact,
Paul wearing sweatpants?
was
Uh,
I wearing pants?
Were you wearing
I can't
sweatpants?
confirm one way. I don't remember.
we met in a hotel room, and one person was sitting in bed, and it wasn't me or Paul, which is surprising.
That's right. That's right.
That's generally where I take these calls.
I feel like the rest of this needs to be paywalled, Koji. You can't talk anymore about this.
Your sponsor's reeling it in, man.
OnlyFans X Medium is going to be the hottest collab of the summer. Up next, majestically mastering the mountaintops of mobile marvels, he's the monumental mogul of mobile gaming milestones, molding the mechanics of wordplay into cultural phenomenons. His masterful moves with words with friends metamorphosized a mobile meta, magnetizing a staggering 500 million downloads. But this maestro of multimedia has mesmerized the masses across VR, console, and PC as well, masterfully manipulating each medium to mega success. Mobilize your applause and marvel at the magnificence of this multifaceted master. It's prolific Paul Bettner.
You are on fire today, Sam. I'm so glad to be here. It was great to see a lot of you guys. Not all you guys. I miss seeing Sam at Consensus, but Consensus was the banger. It was way better than I expected. I'm glad to be home though, here with my kids, going from Texas to Connecticut to spend our summer there. So if any of y'all are in New England, drop a line. Love to hang out.
I appreciate the kind words, Paul. It's quite ironic though because I woke up with a fever today, so literally feel
Oh my
like I am
gosh.
on fire. And
Dude,
it's
why do you get sick every other week, man? Come on, stop going to
bro,
conferences. Sheesh.
stop taking me outside. I was homeschooled. My immune system is compromised, guys. It's your fault.
Oh my gosh. I'm
From
sorry.
helmets to headsets, from hoses to high stakes, this former firefighter has swapped his fire truck for the fast track of financial forecasts. So brace yourselves to feel the burn of excitement or my fever as we introduce the sizzling strategist, the daring dealer of digits, the blazing baron of the boardroom representing Uptick. It's the mastermind with the Midas touch. It's Jerry, the Golden God singer.
Hello. Yeah, Sam, and for all of you, I'm actually probably the closest thing most of you know to a doctor. So, Sam, if you need anything, please call me. I'm excited to be here with some people that I love and appreciate, and share a panel with some of my favorite people. All these naughty boys up here. Excited to jump into it.
What about the rest of them that you don't love and appreciate? What about them, Jerry?
Yeah, Dub's cool too.
And last but not least, weighing in at 2.4 pounds, he's the small scale scholar, a little lizard legend, leaping from ledger to ledger. Brace yourselves for the dynamo of diction, the tongue twitching titan of topics. It's my co host with the co most. It's Lambs.
GM, everyone. I'm happy you guys are back from consensus so I can stop having FOMO on the timeline, seeing all the goddamn posts. But it looked like a really good time, so I'm not jealous at all.
And we're almost to the first topic of the day, but real quick, guys, do you hear that in the distance? It's the rumble of inevitability rolling down the mountaintop like an avalanche. The official blockchain of Gamified, with its spectacular speed and scalability, skillfully simplifying the sophisticated science of subnets, allowing avant garde architects and game gurus alike to craft their cutting edge creations as they see fit. It stands as a steadfast sentinel in the storm, driving the dawn of decentralized gaming with a dynamic, durable, and decidedly different approach. And built on Avalanche is none other than Shrapnel, a marvel of mayhem meticulously manifested that isn't just redefining the rules of the FPS arena, it's an extraction shooter that's tearing through the terrain of traditional gaming. Fresh off the back of a successful STX 3.0, look out for number 3.1 down in Brazil. They're here. They were at Consensus launching the beta version of their Discord game, The Lunatics, which is also quite fun, as a gateway to prizes paired with their Shrap token or an operator. So if you're ready to dive into a domain where your daring deeds are duly rewarded, enlist today and earn some metal, quest with Moku, and have your strategies stretch beyond the screen. Thanks to Shrapnel, the official game of Gamified, which is powered by none other than Stardust. Stardust is lighting the way with its wallets as a service offering, a marvel of modern technology that melts away the mayhem of managing digital assets, making every user experience smooth as silk. This isn't just convenience, it's revolution, redefining the user experience of your game with the touch of a button. This is where projects pivot from potential to powerhouse with unparalleled prowess with Stardust wallet and user acquisition alchemy. Thank you to Stardust, the official infrastructure of Gamified. I wish you guys could see how much my arms just swing around as I'm doing it. I feel like I'm performing for 1,000 people, but I'm just shirtless in my bedroom right now. Quickfire, Web3 gaming presence at Consensus. We're going to keep the answers to 30 seconds or less. If you don't, I might hit you with a quick mute because nobody really likes talking about conferences that much, but I do think it's a little bit interesting. 6 games on the show floor, but they weren't in the same location, making it difficult to experience all of them. Shrapnel and Wilder World with big offsite activations. Parallel had a booth and some of the team present. Shout out to Koji and Kalos. Should Web3 gaming be going harder at these broad crypto conferences to be known outside of the gaming niche and bubble? Or is it okay to kind of take those off and just focus on the gaming specific events? I'm going to send it over to Koji for the first quick take.
No, you don't need to be there. I will, but I will say that like we got a lot of positive traction and feedback from the booth, but it's not game centric. So like the level of I don't know, consumer, whatever you want to call them, that's going to come and try out your stuff. Like you don't know what you're in for, so it's probably not worth it. And to be honest with you, like we got it for free. If we had to pay for it, I probably wouldn't have done consensus. And that's not a knock against consensus. There's just more to be done outside the conference. That being said, like we're going to be at Gamescom with a giant booth. We were at GDC with a booth. Like the more game focused ones are the ones that we have an actual presence for at the show.
I know I said quick fire, but I am curious for a quick follow up, Koji. Do you have any numbers to compare against for GDC and Consensus? If you had like more people playing at GDC or anything, or is there any stats there?
I mean, I don't have the numbers up in front of me, but I can tell you like far and away that we had way more people playing at GDC. I mean, at Consensus, we like to call it a booth is a little bit generous. It was like a single computer kiosk, and it was busy some of the time. with people coming up to the booth to talk to us, but some of them trying to like show us whatever it was that they were doing. But at GDC, we had 4 computers, at least 3 of which were in use all of the time. So it's vastly different, I would say.
Interesting stuff. Dub had the hand up next. Dub, your thoughts on consensus in 30 seconds or less.
Yeah, I agree with everything Koji said, and I also want to add an asterisk to it. It's also a very regional thing. I just found out in our planning for Brazil that they actually don't do a lot of side events and things like that. While there are parties, we were told and advised by people that I trust in the area to be making sure that we have a major presence when we're in Brazil on the actual conference floor. So it very much it's conference by conference, but it's also region by region, and different people like to party and B2B in different ways, depending on what country they're in.
Tagging in Swagner next from Star Atlas, Michael Wagner himself.
I'll take a little bit of a contrarian approach to this. I do think the gaming presence was underwhelming at Consensus. I would have expected to see more. What I would agree with Koji specifically is that I don't think there's a ton of value at most of these conferences to presenting games. I think things that the activations that like Shrapnel's doing and what Wilder World did at Consensus, those are way more valuable, way more impactful, and way more targeted to your actual user base, and can just be generally a lot more fun. But with all of that being said, we're talking about huge and wide market segmentation here, not just gamers. You've got the traders and speculators, you've got a crypto audience. You need to be going after them. And I absolutely think we should be stepping up the game at some of these bigger conferences.
Well said. Can confirm the amount of content that Wilder World got out of that activation was absolutely huge. And Shrapnel, obviously, doing the house for 5 days or whatever it was. Massive ROI there. I'm tagging in Andy from Stardust, then we'll go back to Knock.
I'd probably push back a little bit on that. As a Web3 gaming, gaming and Web3 like conference connoisseur, swirls wine glass. Consensus last year was, not very good for gaming. Like I went on, hung out with the Shrapnel team at their booth, which was awesome, an awesome, booth in general. But there wasn't just that much going on, and for me, it felt like night and day from last year as far as like the gaming Web3 gaming presence and like real teams with real products that were like down to chat and show this stuff off. I don't think that Wilder World and the Strap House and all that like would have feasibly logistically actually worked last year. I think that it was pretty quiet. There's plenty of side events, but it was way more just general expo type of vibe. So I thought Consensus this year was hands down better than last year. Loved it.
Great stuff, Andy. Knock, your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I went to a conference floor in Singapore in 2022, and I literally have not seen another one since then. Like, I just don't go to the conference at all, so I don't know how much of a presence there is on the floor itself. But I think the side events were a ton of fun. Shrapnel House is always great. Wilder World seemed to have an incredible activation as well, and I think just generally speaking, there's a lot of opportunity to just build and strengthen relationships with people within the space. I think if you're somebody who's breaking or trying to break into gaming, maybe save it for GDC or Gamescom, those more gaming specific events where you can spend some time on the conference floor and it'd be worthwhile. But outside of that, when gaming is like a side note or an afterthought, or it takes us to like actually organize these events, it almost feels like it's not worth being there for most teams. If you're at a developed level of growth within your business, then go there. All of that being said, Consensus is in Toronto moving forward, so definitely go to Consensus every year from now on.
Quick follow
Mr.
on
Paul
that
Bettner.
actually is Toronto has a shockingly high number of Web3 folks. I'll just say that. I keep on meeting people from Toronto, so I'm actually stoked to go to Toronto.
Oh my God, you
Let's
guys really.
go.
We just talked about how you guys are making me sick at every fucking conference on earth, and now you're gonna make me go to a futurist in August. Come on, come on, Paul.
Fucking right, we are.
Paul, what
I
about you?
I'm kind of repeating what everybody said. I think that conferences all have different vibes. I expected Consensus to be more about biz, and it was more about biz. Just the fact that everyone was there, and so we were able to easily, take meetings with folks because we're all gathered in one spot, and so a lot got done from that perspective. I think in hotel rooms and, you know, hotel lobbies, but yeah, it wasn't really a consumer show. I didn't expect it to be, and it wasn't really from that perspective. And it's kind of hard, like these conferences. We've talked about this before. They tend to not necessarily know what their identity is until they've been doing it for a while, and so I don't know that Consensus has fully figured it out yet. but at least everyone was there, and so that part was good.
All right, before we jump into topic number 2, going to go to the audience. Got some great comments. Jay from Geno Pets, the MVP from a week or two ago, says Sinjin David Jung with half an intro and then realizing we missed you. Shout out to Sinjin. I know it's like 4 a.m. over there for him, so we'll forgive him this once. Mick Chillin says, is this the second episode ever without Sinjin? And Jay also chimes in with Sam GPT is greater than Chat GPT. Appreciate that one. I'm framing it on the wall, Jay. McKillen also says he thinks some games should have been present if they consider themselves AAA titles and big innovators, but not as important for the smaller games. Jaxie says Shrapnel and Parallel don't even have a MySpace profile. Are they even trying? And Chris Sizak says ignoring the wider Web3 ecosystem long-term is a mistake. IMO ETHCC is the next event outside of gaming, and the Web3 gaming industry should be paying attention to it. I appreciate you guys chiming in. Keep chiming in the rest of the episode. It's always my favorite part. Moving on, though, Empathize or Condemn Gala. This one's going to be spicy. Spider Tank's development game media has publicly criticized Gala Games, citing alleged mismanagement and claims that Gala Games failed to fulfill its marketing commitments, intentionally diverting resources to unrelated industries, like, quote, aggressively expanding into unrelated industries as film and music, spending millions on fruitless celebrity partnerships, cough, cough, Snoop Dogg, cough, cough, jets, and real estate, unquote, leaving Spider Tanks and its community unsupported. Reports also indicate that other Gala ecosystem developers are facing legal disputes with Gala, while internal teams like Vox and Mirandus have also encountered accusations of non-cooperation. Seems like they're totally in fucking shambles over there. Gala has also had a long history of just absolutely maximally extractive game mechanics with previous titles like Townstar. If anybody's tried to get involved in their ecosystem, they know how fucking intense it is. From a monetary standpoint. So my question again is, are you guys empathizing with Gala as a leader in a difficult cutting edge industry that's just trying to figure it out? Or are you condemning them for the results of their business practices and where they find themselves now? I'm going to tag in Swagner first.
I raised my hand on this, and I don't even know why, because I really don't want to comment or disparage on any other team. What I'll say is I empathize with the users, right? Because we have a lot of Star Atlas users on our side that also were involved and heavily invested into games like Mirandus, and they're all taking massive losses, massive hits right now. So absolutely feel bad for the projects, for the teams that had signed engagements with Gala. I think it's totally fair to condemn the current management team. Just seeing this exodus of team members and again, the canceled contracts and kind of the rugging of the entire community just feels incredibly bad and feels like a stain on the industry.
Very eloquently said. Let's tag in Mr. Lems, then we'll go to Dub.
Yeah, I think that was really well said. Empathize with the users and like the game devs, but like I'm 100% on Condemn. Gala is like a core team on what they've done. And they've always been super extractive. They've charged ridiculous prices for assets. They've literally tried to extract as much liquidity, it felt like, as they can, just being like, hey, this Web3 rush, how much money can we extract from it? And then they turn around and try and gaslight people to say, it's not about speculation. It's not about the games after selling tokens and nodes and all these things. I'm just like, send them to zero. Like, get them out of here. They are not the kind of people we want in this industry. We want people who want to push the space forward, and that's not what they're doing. They just wanted to soak up as much money as possible and go buy jets and have fun. And we don't want that. We want to actually push the space forward.
Oh man, real quick, Pasquale in the comments, one of the founders, or maybe the founder of Blood Loop, says listening to Gamified as post-workout routine now. Love you guys. We love you too, brother. Good to hear from you. Dub, your thoughts on Gala?
Yeah, hate to do this from behind the shrapnel account, but I mean, like, I just want to know where we can condemn them to. Like, is that Chuck E. Cheese with an AOL internet setup? Like, whatever it can be, like them and Wax Blockchain, fucking send it to them, dude. Like, I'm so disappointed. I have like some of my favorite IP is caught up in a lot of that, and that's why I'm really upset. Like, it just feels like a major loss for the market as a whole, because there is like things like The Walking Dead. Like, I have an epic Daryl Dixon that I won but never got to use, and like it's never gonna happen. All this kind of examples and stuff, it's just a freaking travesty, and I hate to see it all suckered up, and I just want to see them put in the condemned place purgatory they belong.
Yeah, great point. I will say Last Remains was also one of the games that I was most looking forward to in Web3 that I hadn't had my hands on yet. So it is disappointing to hear that all this is going on behind the scenes, because at the very least, it's extremely distracting to the developers there. I'm going to send it over to Michael O'Connor next.
Yeah, I'm always like trying to be kind of. I don't like to condemn people when you're chatting on these things, right? It's always like a bummer to just like shit on people, especially, sometimes the questions that we talk about in the show, it's like current affairs, right? They're the current affairs that are happening in Web3 gaming. And often it's like we're commenting on people when they're at their potentially worst. And we're like, oh, like, what do you think about them now? And, you have to be careful with that. You have to be careful with that. And you never want to stick the knife in and kick someone when they're down, so to speak, and stuff like that. Now, with all that said, this is one situation I'm just a bit like, fuck. I'm sick of this as someone who's building in this like this broader ecosystem that we're all trying to build together. I'm just, I like it keeps enough of it, but I know it's just going to continue. Like we keep dealing with like this, and it bores me, man. It bores me so much. Like I have so many mates of mine who are developers who like have considered coming over to to build here, and they push back because of these things like this. They push back because of things like this, and yeah, I just really wish this would change. I also blame, by the way, loads of people who finance these fucking people, and they're clearly unqualified to run these major companies. Like, there's not just this. I don't want to throw multiple people under the bus, but Vader, I think it's Vader Research is his Twitter handle, published the amount of like top numbers that have been given to by VCs to games companies, and like when you look at the top 10, I mean, I think that like up at the top, I think literally we're talking about something like 750 million for one company, and you've never even heard of them making a game. You know, like it doesn't do what we're trying to build all here together justice, and it bums me out. Honestly, it's like there's so many cool people building really cool games who are looking for ways to integrate the aspects of this technology in a way that rewards innovation and builds community. And yeah, it bums me out that we get these kind of fucking sob stories from people who are like, frankly, just bottling it.
Man, couldn't agree with that entire statement more. Jonah does have some advice for you in the comments. He says, "I love dunking on people. You should try it." But I appreciate your thoughtful take because it's very accurate. I'm gonna tag in Mr. Ed Chang from Avalanche next.
Yeah, I think everybody, like always, has really, really good viewpoints, and I agree with all of them. I think the only other 2 points I would add is, one, you're kind of only as good as your weakest link, right? So this is an industry that we're all trying to push forward. I think we're all operating in good faith here. We try really hard, but like it sucks, right? Because all it takes is one bad apple or one really bad experience, and it kind of taints the whole industry. All right, like there is a there are a lot of reasons why every time a new crypto game comes out with a YouTube video, and like half the comments are, "Oh, NFTs, I knew this was a scam," and you look at Kotaku and things like that. I think it's tough, right? And so it's on us to kind of try to kind of weed out bad actors and do our best to do right by the players in the games. The other thing I would say is like I think also like when it comes to like content creators, I think it's like don't trust verify in the sense of like if you're going to take certain deals with chains. I know there were a lot of influencers that took deals with Gala, right? Just to make sure that you're kind of doing your due diligence there. I think CoffeeZilla just came out with a pretty interesting YouTube video around like a bank that all these financial YouTubers had like shilled, right? And he was like, it's not your fault, but like you do have some involvement in this, right? In the sense of like people trust you and make sure that you're kind of doing right by them as well. I can't tell you how many of these like engagement farming posts I see still of like who's your favorite gaming blockchain, and like half of them are like Gala, right? And I'm assuming it's people who have big bags and are down bad, and it pains me to see that sometimes.
Yeah, this is a question I frequently ask myself. Like, should I be doing deep research on people and their history even before they come on my shows, and sussing out, making sure I play their games and asking for references of their history and stuff? Because there's a non-zero chance that at some point somebody goes, oh, I remember this scammer guy was on Simplified episode 11 or something, 47 weeks ago, and somehow I have a level of liability there because I helped promote them. It is definitely a concern, but you have to draw the line somewhere of like what level of research you could do on the many people you interact with every day. Definitely, if it's a bank though, some DD is worthwhile. Jerry, I'm tagging you in, then we'll go to Koji.
Yeah, I think my thoughts really fall in line with like what Mike O'Connor said, and it sucks. I think that at the end of the day, though, like lessons to be learned is you can't boil an ocean, right? Which is like I always felt that Gala was trying to do way too much in like industries that are in like the three fucking hardest industries in the world to try to like disrupt, right? Gaming, music, and film, right? Like name three more industries that would fucking suck to be a startup in than those three, right? So it's really unfortunate, but I think it's like like a stain on the industry is a stain on the industry, and we should all be, I think, like in a way hoping that they figure out a way to turn it around. I don't think any of us really have high hopes for it, right? Seeing their history, but if they fall apart, right, there will be some. CoffeeZilla will do a huge deep dive into the billions of dollars that got put into that ecosystem and have ultimately been lost. And those are going to be things that hurt the Pauls of the world, and they hurt the Kojis and the Michael O'Connors of the world. So I hope they turn it around. I think it's going to take new people and new voices in the room. But it's super unfortunate. I think if you look at a silver lining, hopefully those teams are getting released from their contracts, and you get chains like Avalanche and Solana, feasting, going to that graveyard of games that are pretty good. Like I didn't love Spider Tanks, but a lot of people did, right? So hopefully there's some really good games that are going to be out there that can find new homes that can actually help them, do what they want to do. And I think at the end of the day, like look at those teams like Gala, and they didn't know how to do it. So it's more reasoning for us to look at the teams like AVAX, like the people that are up here that do know how to do it, and believe in them even more, and place your bets there.
Yeah, it's a great point. I would be inclined to agree with you that we have to figure out a way to take these games that are already built and put them in the hands of somebody that can actually operate them at a high level. Spider Tanks, I think if you took all of the monetization out of it, is genuinely a good game. I remember playing it at VCon #1, like I don't know, 16 months ago, and it was already pretty good. But as soon as I found out how aggressive the pay to win aspects of it were, I was like, this is garbage. I'm never going to touch it again. So there is something that could be salvaged there. But then that asks the question, if there's a bunch of people that have paid for the NFTs that are world beaters and they don't want to play against free to play people that can beat them, how do you salvage that and do right by them? There's a bunch of can of worms there to be figured out. Koji, I'm sending it to you then to knock.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Lem said earlier just really resonated with me. I kind of wish I worked there because I like jet skis and planes and fun. So I'm sad I decided to go for the hard work side of things. But also I think that and hear me out. I feel like this is a sign of uh, the space sort of maturing and coming around. You see this stuff all the time. I mean, we saw it in like the late 90s, early 2000s with like online digital media companies and all this stuff like promising uh, the world and like, we're going to put like all of TV on the internet. And this was obviously before Netflix and all of this stuff. And most of it just fell apart. They built these giant like media conglomerates that were made of record labels. And anyway, the point is that like, people are going to try things. There's going to be big swings. And I think some of the time, like, I mean, we can be unhappy about it in hindsight, but like, I'm sure it started with good intentions. And so, really, we just have to like take the L's and move on. Now, obviously, that sucks if you put any money into it, and like the there's all sorts of not so subtle things that go along with that. But I think that like if you're gonna operate in a space that's like we are so early or whatever, we have to be okay with some of like the early shit going awry. And this is just like a really good example of maybe some of it turning that way.
Great point. A quick follow up, if anybody wants to chime in on this, is there anything that can be done? It seems like we kind of unanimously agree that this is the demise of Gala and that it's probably not going to recover because they've primarily been mismanaging the business. If anybody feels comfortable asking the question or answering the question, is there anything that could have been done before this point, or is it really only you hope that people don't put too much of their money into it and that they don't suck too much liquidity out? It just kind of feels hopeless until you watch them dissolve in front of your very eyes. I'm gonna send it over, or not, or Koji, I see you unmute. Then we'll go to Knock.
Yeah, real quick, like I've been a part of startups that have completely fallen apart before, and I've seen it happen from the inside out. And I can tell you firsthand in those scenarios, and we started out with like a decent war chest. Like in those scenarios, it's not as if we intended to like, oh, just fuck around with the money and just have a great time and like fuck the community or whatever. And this is like way before Web3, way before any of this stuff. But like you make decisions, you sometimes bet big on things being the right answers, and it turns out they're not. And there's nothing you can do about that, right? Like it's just you decided wrong, and it's not even a bad decision. It was just whatever fate, the world, the zeitgeist just wasn't with you, and you're kind of screwed. And sometimes if you bet too big, there's no coming back from that. And it's really like it's actually those failures, like those several failures that I've had, that's a lot of the parallel team has had in the past, that has helped us with this venture being like, okay, well, we're not going to make those mistakes again, right? But we started out even those ventures with the best of intentions, and some of it completely went awry. So like it's very easy from the outside to be like, oh, these guys had it all and they fucked it up. But like I'm sure there was a bunch of people there that are like, no, we're doing our best to like do it the way that we think it should be done, and it just turns out the market is turning a different way.
Yeah, fair play there. Appreciate the balanced take. Knock, I'm sending it over to you.
Yeah, before I say anything, just as a quick disclaimer, I'm down like horrendous, like mega humongous big on the Gala ecosystem. So take everything that follows this with a grain of salt. But I will say, like, one, I feel like I'm in the fucking upside down here because when we're talking about teams who actually make missteps or make directions or try things and then they don't work out, teams like we've talked about plenty of times in the show, like Yuga, like Pudgy, like Pixelmon, everybody shits on these teams, right? They got to do better. They need to be better. But then when we're talking about a team like Gala, who has historically been nothing but extractive, every single thing that they have ever done has been optimized for max extraction. Everything that they've done. When you're flying PJs from city to city to pick up employees to fly to a conference and doing things like calling other teams and ecosystems poor, or doing things like releasing a token, extracting $1 billion from the ecosystem, and then saying, we're not here for speculation. When you're doing these sort of things, in my eyes, they're not missteps, right? These are, you're showing us who you are, and you're doing these things repeatedly over an extended period of time for everybody to see. My whole feelings on the Gala ecosystem, I guess, can sort of be summed up with literally everybody is suing Gala, including Gala, which is all you need to know about the way that they've handled business relationships and the teams that they've worked within this ecosystem and some of the teams that they've done wrong by. I think Gala is an example of a team that started off with a really good idea, admittedly so, and it's part of the reason why I was so willing to deploy capital within the ecosystem. And very quickly, from an outsider's perspective looking in, got real drunk on the amount of money that was coming into that ecosystem and started doing some less than savory things. And there's like a public catalog of instances that people have talked about on social over the course of the last couple of years. It's a shame because there are some really fucking talented teams building cool shit within the Gala ecosystem that now need to go through all this stuff like litigation and dealing with the lawsuits and trying to get out of contracts and figuring out how to pick up the pieces with the games that they've built. And that's a shame. The Walking Dead thing was so fucking cool to me. I love the idea of like leveraging that IP, and we'll see how that ends up playing out. I feel really bad for people who participated within the ecosystem. I feel really bad for the developers, people who were building games and took this leap of faith to build within the Gala ecosystem. But I don't know that I feel bad from a top down perspective, especially when there are just so many public instances of leadership from that ecosystem shitting on everybody else in this ecosystem. It's hard for me to sympathize with those groups. I think we should, like Koji said, get behind teams that make missteps, that fuck things up along the way, and try to solve things. I'm talking about the teams like the Pixelmons, like Aurora in the early days, like what we saw out of Yuga and so many other teams. These are teams that, like, even if they're making poorly informed decisions, they're still trying to push forward. Gala has been outwardly, at least some members of that team, not everybody. I don't want to cast a blanket on every employee within the ecosystem, but there are people in leadership positions who have outright acted like maliciously on social over the course of the last couple of years. It's hard for me to like do anything other than condemn what has happened with the Gala ecosystem.
Damn, saying what I was thinking, but way more eloquently. Appreciate you, man. Stardust, Andy, over to you.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Damn. Feel like just got never mind. So to bring it back to something that's like more focused on game developers, because I agree. I think that like we want to root for the games out there, and just in general never want to stray away from like the principle that like they were releasing products and the whole goal was to still make building on blockchain like better. The company itself was mismanaged, clearly. But for game developers who are kind of in, and as we come up on a potential more bullish market, knock on wood, just I want to echo or emphasize to game developers, just people in general, that when people are offering you money, obviously chains need to take a hard look at, and chains and ecosystems, anyone who's offering money needs to take a hard look at who they're offering money to. But then it's really important to know who you're getting money from and why. Um, and I feel like we see it happen. We've seen it happen since the beginning of Web3 gaming, where people offering money end up not being where they stick around. Where the games stick around, and for a various set of reasons, and that's just inefficient. It's just bad on your time. So just as a game developer, back in 2021, I would talk to game developers, and Stardust has never offered grants. And then I would have a game developer telling me, listen, I can't go with you guys, even though I like your product. I like you guys a lot, but I can't go with you because my board is telling me if I don't take this $3 million grant from XYZ, whatever, of which I've never even seen their product, they're going to kick me off of CEO. Like that type of stuff just happens, and it's just mind blowing, but it does happen. And I just implore everyone to be really, really critical of who you take money from, because stupid stuff happens, and you're wasting, if nothing else, all of your time. On top of reputation and things like that. So I just really want to make sure that as we go into this next market, sometimes it's literally not worth it. And that was my response to them. I would say, is spending 2+ years building a game that will not be able to function on chain, signing an exclusive deal, worth it? Like, you losing all of that time, worth the $3 million? And the answer was yes. So, yeah, no comment on Gala specifically, though. Otherwise,
Appreciate the inside baseball. Let's go to Dub for the last word.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out two things. The first one is they're definitely not done like swinging. Like literally last week, we saw Snoop Dogg streaming Last Expedition, which is a game on site of Gala that I hope does really well. But to answer your question earlier, Sam, about like what could they do differently to like kind of right this wrong and course correct, is it's funny. It's like it literally just starts with the base listing price that they're listing these assets on and forcing like the teams to list assets for. It's literally it's crazy to me that I'm coming in, discovering a game, and the base asset floor price that is coming directly from Gala is 1 ETH plus. Like it just literally makes no sense. It was out the gate starting wrong compared to everyone else. And if they literally just started with pricing things out the gate correctly, I'm sure they would have saw a better experience than what we're seeing today.
Great point, Dub. We have Adrian Extern in the comments saying, so when do we get a real celebrity like Ghostcrawler in on these chats? Ghostcrawler, a famous World of Warcraft mod. I think he eventually joined the team too, or maybe he was always part
Ghost
of the team.
Crawler's my buddy Greg Street. He was the lead designer on Age of Empires 3. He's amazing. He then went on to be the guy you all know now as Ghost Crawler, who led World of Warcraft for many years, and now has an amazing new company where he's building a next generation MMO. You should check it out.
There's like, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Like, Paul is that in gaming.
This is the
1,000%.
sweetest guy. I think I've told you stories about Greg before because I remember very distinctly. I'll never forget. the interview process with Greg. He was a marine biologist. I believe he's a doctor of marine biology or something, and he just hated it. And I'll never forget sitting in that interview and him talking about how much he like. We were like, okay, but so it says here you want to be a game designer on our team, but like, have you ever designed a game? Like, you have like this insane resume of like marine biology PhD or whatever. Why? And he's like, guys, I just hate walking through the swamp. Okay, I'm honest. I picked the wrong career. I hate it. I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to make games. And we thought he was brilliant, and he had some really, really great ideas for what he wanted to do on the Age of Empires franchise or whatever. So we took a shot on him. Ended up being one of the best hires we ever made. He's a brilliant designer, and obviously now a celebrity.
Paul, can
Damn.
I just quickly, as an experiment, could you actually see if you could do a 7 degrees to Kevin Bacon?
I've never tried that. I'll go see it. How close Kevin Bacon and I are. But I can almost promise you that any like 6 degrees or 7 degrees calculus that applies to me is actually just because of Wild Kate and her connections. So because I'm only 1 from Wild Kate, therefore I'm probably only like 2 or 3 from the entire rest of the world.
Big shout out to Katie Drake Bettner, the legend. I just asked her the other day. I was like, please come back on the show. We've been deprived of you for too long. So hoping to have her on again in the near future. Ted Mui from Wagomon, you might know him better as from Chibi Clash, says no shortage of good games in Web3 nowadays. Any ecosystem that is creating a barrier for these games to be played deserves to fail. Taking out his anger there on Gala. We're gonna move on to the next topic though. Big deal, little deal, no deal. 2 famous PFP projects announcing a game in the same week. We've got Pudgy Penguins game claiming to be a mobile party game built by Mythical from NFL Rivals, set to launch in 2025, so a little bit out there. And then Sappy Seals says they're making a creature collector, but it's still kind of to be determined. Also seems very far out. My question for the panel, is this a big deal that they're deciding to do this? And can these projects succeed where Yuga failed? Or is this a rehashing of the same lackluster idea that led Yuga astray and later was eventually just completely scrapped? It seems like now they're basically selling it for parts. I think Lem's had the hand up first. I'll give it to him.
All right, I will say all the Gala hate aside, it was like we just said, like want to see people winning in this space. So, it's cool to see this stuff. They're 2 pretty well-known PFP projects. But I will be honest that when I saw the Sappy Seals trailer, all I could think was like, oh, here we go with another creature collector. It feels like we love this genre in Web3. There's a few genres we have in Web3 that we seem to like to overdo to death. I mean, I wish them all the best and hope it goes well for them, but I just feel like we're saturating markets and all that. The trailer looked really cool though. It's interesting. The Pudgy game, we don't have a lot of info on. I couldn't find anything when I looked it up, at least. I feel like their IP could be really well suited to a party game, so I'm like definitely curious to see what comes, and they still got plenty of time to build that out. I think it comes back to that, like PFPs need some kind of fundamental backing to it, and most of them are realizing like gaming is a good fit if they can make their IP fit in. So I would say like little deal, I guess. Hope they both win. More interested, I would say, in the Pudgy Penguins one, just because the party game kind of feels like it really fits their IP and their vibe.
All right, let's tag in John Hook.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's very different to Yuga. I mean, you've got 2 very different looking IPs. I mean, I saw Wab was here earlier, but I mean, just go talk to Wab, right? Like, and they've got one of the biggest. I mean, for me, outside of within Web3 gaming, like their community just goes hard. Like, look how hard their community go on like Nifty Island, for example. So you've got to support Wab and the Seals for their commitment to gaming. But trust me, you should. I mean, I know he dropped out, and I was trying to get him on, but you should talk to Wab to really dive into what he's building. He's just an incredibly smart, philosophical guy, massively into like hard AAA games. So I don't disagree with what Lems is saying. I mean, anyone launching a game right now, I mean, how many TCG AAA shooter games are there in Web3 right now? Like, there's loads of games in every category. So I think what it's going to come down to, which is where I would back Seals and Pudgy, is distribution. Right? They've got very skilled distribution machines, certainly in Web3, and where they've invested significantly. If you go look at their, beyond Web3, if you go look at their like Instagram channels, if you go look at their Giphy channels, for example, they're fucking huge. So I wouldn't put it past them to find a really interesting like distribution method here that maybe Yuga missed. But yeah, that's kind of my takes on like certainly Sappy Seals. Focus the Pudgy team a lot. Again, don't know a huge amount about the game, but again, like, you know, absolutely diehard community, investing a lot outside of Web3 as well. So I'm just super interested, as much as the game, to look at how they attack the distribution side.
Great stuff, John. And just for a tiny, tiny bit of added context as well, this game that Pudgy announced with Mythical is different from Pudgy World,
Before it
which
was
they
all the
announced
way
at
right
Art
or left.
Basel
Now
last
it's
year. Just
remember
for
how before it was
clarification,
all the way right or
this
left. Now it's
this
either
marks
good
their
probability
second
right
game that
left,
they're now trying
or
to inject their
and
IP
there's a good
into,
probability
which
of moving
again
left.
kind of matches up
Which
with
is really
Yuga
good.
sort of building four games or whatever they decided to build. Michael Wagner from Star Atlas, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I'm going to be honest, I'm not very familiar. I haven't seen these announcements, but what I will say is I don't find it at all surprising that we see NFT, PFP communities evolving into game development studios, justified or not, whether or not they have the expertise or experience or not, or they land partners and studios that are capable of building these products out. I think Lem's really nailed it. It's these communities have been funded through the sale of these digital assets, and how are they utilizing that capital, right? And it comes back down to utility. What are you going to do with the NFT outside of building a community around it? Yuga is well known for throwing these massive parties and big events and stuff like that. And I think that that's one potential activation, but that's not necessarily a revenue generating or a perpetuating activity that these various communities can effectuate for long. So I don't think it's at all surprising. I think it's actually promising, and it does provide an outlet for these communities to continue to grow. John also noted one aspect that I think is very valuable, and that's distribution, right? So you can kind of look at this from both sides of the picture, which is you either have the community and the audience that you can already distribute a product and IP to, or you have the product that's really good and you're looking for that audience to distribute it to, but you have the intrinsic utility. So I think it's good overall. We'll see how it goes. I will take a moment just to shill. We are launching our crew pack. So from our perspective, like, we've been building a badass game since the beginning. And so really excited about our PFPs coming out.
They're doing it in reverse. They've got a game coming in PFPs after the fact. Great point about distribution, by the way. I'm going to send it over to Ed Chang from AVAX. Lots of hands on this one. Sorry if I'm going out of order, guys.
I'd say little deal. The reason for that is anytime we talk to a new game here and we say, "Oh, this game looks really cool. When's it going to launch?" and they say, "Sometime in 2025." My eyes roll to the back of my head, and I'm just like, "This, hey, very cool. Let's stay in touch, right?" Like the crop of games now, like all of them are delayed, and for good reason. By the way, I'm not faulting anybody. Like games themselves are really freaking hard to build, and you add in this blockchain layer, you add in the right chain, you add in all these other things. It just makes it exponentially more complicated. So if you're telling me early 2025, we'll see an early alpha test, maybe late 2025. It's so much stuff is going to change from now until then. I think the only reason that it is interesting is it is because of these two IPs, right? These are two NFT collections that have withstood the test of time and probably like lasted the last 3+ years, which feel like 30 years in like a Web2 brand space, right? So if anybody can figure it out, it's these guys, and so I think there's a high ceiling on this. But like even the Pudgy IP, like Pudgy World hasn't, I don't know if it's officially launched on ZK yet. So like, it feels like they're kind of trying to do a bunch of things right now. Like Mythical is kind of up in the air with some of the IP that they've been working on. So I'd say little deal, but because of who these founders are, who the IP is, like you can't count them out, even with Yuga. Shout out to you, Knock.
I'm inclined to agree with you. Whenever I heard 2025, I was like, yikes. All right, here we go again. 18 months of announcements about announcements about announcements to get a half-baked alpha at the end of 2025. A quick harkening back to the last topic. Phil says, I love whenever Paul Bettner drops these gems. That Ghost Crawler story was amazing. And then Katie Drake Bettner herself chimes in and says, Kevin Bacon lives close to our place in Connecticut, and I do know his wife's producing partner, so Paul Bettner is 2 degrees away from Kevin Bacon.
I told you.
I knew it. I actually knew this. This
Exactly.
is
Like,
I knew the
know
answer to
basically
the
you guys can
question.
say anything, and if I have to go have a meeting with that person, I can make it happen in a week thanks to Kate. whoever it is, doesn't matter.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Let's go to Jerry. Then we'll send it over to Michael
Dude,
O'Connor.
Paul is the Dos Equis guy, dude. It's the most interesting guy in the world over here. Yeah, I don't know, man. I want to say it's like somewhere between no deal and little deal. I'm kind of right there with Ed. You know, it's just like you're gonna announce an announcement of a game for 18 months, like you said, Sam, and like just build the shit and then tell me when it's ready. Like, you know, I feel like these two IPs are probably a little unfair to like criticize for like just dragging things out. Like, I think Pudgy's great, and I feel maybe more of this way towards Sappy Seals than maybe because that party you made me go to, Sam. Um, you know, I think I'm a little bit more harsh on them. Because I feel like it's just this like backwards thing of like we built an IP, but there's no like usage of the IP anywhere. So now we're trying to figure it out. And like Pudgy's doing some cool shit, but like if it's not going to come out until like next year, I just don't care right now. You know, there's too much other stuff going on. So that's cool. I like people building games. You know, I like the mythical team. So I think you know Pudgy's head's on right. But just build the shit, man, and don't drag me on for till late 2025.
I'm going to reel myself in a little bit and make sure I don't wax poetic for too long. But Charlie Blackstock, one of my absolute favorite people in the world, says sometimes I think we're too guarded about who is capable or allowed to build games. We often give too much credit to past experience and not enough to newcomers. 3 of the biggest games in the last year are all from indie devs making games from the first time. I think this is interesting, especially when viewed through the lens of earlier, whenever we mentioned having to do due diligence on everybody in the space. And I was thinking while we were engaging on this space, what would I have thought if I had done my due diligence on Koji from Parallel? And I said, and I looked at all of his experience in the past, and I go, okay, he used to be in a rock band, and then he made a bartering application that allows people in Toronto to trade shit for free. Like, yeah, bro, probably not a good spot for you on Gamified, you know? But here he is with arguably the most successful Web3 game in the world right now. So, you know, egg on my face, I guess. Let's go over to Michael O'Connor, and then I'm going to
Oh,
tag in
Sam, I
Koji.
thought you were going to segue to me. I got to jump in here. Sorry. I'm going to let you finish, Michael O'Connor, but I just got to.
Koji,
I
get
wanted to
in.
make you wait for it.
I got to jump in because. And I'm just gonna call you Fresco because that's where my head went. I love you, man, but the fact that this is the duality of this space, it's like we want to be a part of the process. We want to be here early. We want to like, you know, get our hands dirty and whatever, like warts and all, show it to me. But then we're also just like, oh, it's gonna take a year. Like I'm out. And what's fucking insane about that is there's no way it's gonna take a year. It's gonna take way fucking longer than a year. And people are like, "Oh, we want to see the whole process." No, you fucking don't. Maybe you want to like read about it after the fact, and then and like have had your money in early or something, so you can be like, "I was here first," and like fucking jack off all over your buddies or whatever. But like, it's fucking ridiculous that we are like we want to be in this space where the devs can hear us and we can do all this stuff, and then we're just like, "Oh, your shit's coming out in a year. I don't give a fuck." Like that whole thing is wild. And by the way, my answer to your original question is big deal because I don't bet against Luca anymore. And yeah, maybe the like creature collection genre is overstuffed, but so many fucking people told me that this game that we were building was going to be shit because everyone's tried everything else under the sun in card games and we were fucked. And they're kind of true, but we still people like it. So fuck them.
Amazing stuff. Probably my favorite take of the day. Let's send it over to Michael O'Connor from Today the
I
Game.
love that. I'm just giggling to myself for the duration of that. Yeah, listen, you know, Pudgy has shown an incredible capacity to understand the value of their IP and to understand how to mobilize that value in really innovative, cool ways. You know, so I think actually betting against them, be careful on that one for sure. Um, I also just want to harken back to a little bit that point about like giving people the opportunity. I think that giving people the opportunity, all this, like, I want to, I said earlier on, like, about Gala games, sometimes these people weren't, maybe, hadn't shown the capacity to be able to deal with those kind of numbers, to be able to deal with the responsibilities. But of course, you got to take risks in this situation. You got to give people these opportunities. And there's never been a better opportunity to go out and make games than today, right? It's so much easier than it used to be to make great games, and to put your own ingenuity into it and to put your own personality into it and to show your imagination. It's never been easier to do that. So, let's try to liberate that as much as possible. But anyway, back on topic. The thing with Pudgy is they've shown an incredible capacity to do amazing things. Mythical, really interesting team who've been doing it, for a couple of years, have been shown a pretty amazing capacity to be able to raise shitloads of money and put out a few games as well in the process. Sounds like a really good marriage. It sounds like a really good marriage. It's going to take a little bit of time, but of course, we're all in it for the process, aren't we? We're all in it for the alpha. We're all in it to join the team, to be part of the community, to get in and really stake our claim as being we were the first there. That's part of the thing with crypto. But everyone loves that sense of identity. We're all here together. So, for me, I'm going to go with big deal.
Sam, I got to jump in again real quick. That stalking horse example, straw man that I gave, was not aimed at Jerry. I don't think that. Uh, I know that he likes to be early, and I certainly don't think that he jerks off all over his friends. So
Thank
just
you.
want to make that clear.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that, Koji.
I just imagine Michael O'Connor in the countryside. It's like 9 p.m. over there, maybe 10. I hear crickets in the background. I just imagine him sitting on his patio with like a pint of Guinness or a Negroni or something. If I know
It's
him,
midnight.
and
It's
he's
It's
listening to
midnight in Tel Aviv.
Jesus, and he's here spending it with us, man. Appreciate you. You're amazing. Let's go to Ed Chang from
Yeah, you
AVAX.
know what? I'm going to respond to Koji. And you didn't shout me out, but you called out Jerry. And me and Jerry are on the same team on this one because he agreed with me. So, I'm going to respond to that. You know what? You're totally right. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Like, it is a really fucking hard job to be a game developer and especially building in Web3. And we respect the hell out of you. And that's why I work at a blockchain because what I do, I don't think is as hard as building a game like what you do, right? It's easy for me to backseat drive and opine on things, but that's the matter of the fact, right? Fact of the matter. Sorry, you know, the ecosystem at a certain point needs to see some of the results in like actual games that people are playing, right? Like even a blockchain perspective, like we are big in gaming, but at a certain point, we've made some big bets. We want to see how those do before we can kind of continue to invest more on the UA side, on marketing and all this kind of stuff. Because ultimately we're here for that ROI. Can we actually, like this thesis of can crypto gaming bring millions of people who never touched blockchain on chain just hasn't been proven yet. And so, the longer it goes to see some of this stuff, yeah, unfortunately, like the Pudgy Penguins or game, like really stick trailers or games that get announced today don't get that same leeway. They don't get to do a non-dilutive land sale and all this crazy stuff that has happened before. Maybe you can't even do a node sale these days, but like I think there is kind of this uneasiness across the board of everybody who is dedicated a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Maybe not the same as a game developer. That's just like I just we all believe this is inevitable, but I just want to see it happen. Like every couple months, I feel like we're so close. We're at the 1 yard line. We're at the 1 yard line, and that's kind of where my statement came from. And the other thing I will say is I wouldn't bet against Luca either. However, it sounds like Mythical is building this game. Like as far as I know, Luca is not a game developer, right? Like he knows the merchandising, he knows the consumer side, he knows the brand building really well, which is how he pulled this gigantic rabbit out of his ass in Walmart, and like it's insane what he's done. But it isn't directly the Pudgy team kind of building that game either, right? So yeah, I get it. Like it's a really tough spot to be in. But I also I see kind of the collective um, tenseness, right? Like of just like we know that this is going to work, but we just want to see it work, and that's why all these expectations and kind of shorter timelines that people expect are on the table here.
Sorry, guys, I'm getting soft rugged over here. My internet is in absolute shambles. I'm going to send it over to Knock, and then I'm actually going to rotate him down. We have the Omnia account, which is, I believe, the Sappy Seals game trying to request up. So I want to get a word from them, but the panel is full, so I'm going to do some finessing. But Knock, I'm going to send it to you first.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like wholeheartedly agree with Koji here on a bunch of his points. I mean, listen, this is like a new industry. We're in at best year four, but realistically, probably the third full year of teams building. Most like new exciting industries really take 10 plus years to even come close to taking off. So this idea of like if they're not delivering it in the calendar year 2024, I don't care is absurd to me, especially when some of the games that we love the most in this space announced their game in like 2020 or 2021, right? We're 3, 4 years on from when they first made that announcement. So if anything, I think, the onus is on those teams, not new teams announcing new products. I think it's ridiculous to like be so willing to wait for other teams and then these new teams come in and you're like you need to deliver today even though everybody else in the ecosystem has been building for 3 or 4 years. I think that's ridiculous. The other point to this is the most common issue that developers in web3 have is distribution. The number of teams building quality games that will die before anybody gets their hands on it, both in traditional Web 2 markets and in Web 3 markets, is disgusting. The overwhelming majority of good games die before anybody's ever seen it. Meanwhile, you have games like Lethal Company where take any four people on this panel and they can get it built over the course of a weekend with a couple of bottles of beer and a few pizzas. Sold 10 million copies because they understood distribution and how to get it in the hands of people who will actually play the game. So when you're looking at brands like Pudgy and Sappy, I think that they're incredibly well positioned to build something that people will want to play because they have a brand that is beyond just the NFT space. They have billions of views on things like Giphy. Sappy has an Instagram account that is doing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views per video on traditional channels, not just crypto Twitter. You look at what Luca has done in his history, and he clearly understands how to develop and sell physical products to the tune of $10 million with Pudgy Penguin. So these are teams that have built out distribution channels beyond the Web3 world. Also, very clearly understand how Web3 works because they've been not only have they been alive for the last 3 years, but they've been thriving in the last 6 to 12 calendar months, which is something that most teams never see any amount of that success. And they've been doing it for 3 years on. So I'm hopeful that you see teams like this deliver quality products. I don't think, the game that comes out of Pudgy is going to be anything that anybody on this panel plays because if you see what Pudgy has done historically, they're targeting younger kids and they're building ecosystem and activities and activations that make sense for a younger audience. So of course it's not going to be something that is targeted at us. And frankly, that's probably the reason why we don't care. Is there a connection between the success of those games and the price of their assets? I don't really know, and I think that that's an entirely different conversation in and of itself. But I think that there's something to be said in the fact that these teams clearly understand distribution and multi-channel distribution better than just about anybody else in the space. So if I have to bet on somebody for a game being a breakout, I'm going to bet on a team that understands how to get eyeballs on that product to begin with. Because in the last 5 years alone, I've played like 40 good games that are better than 99% of the games in Web3 that literally not even one of my friends who spends fucking 30 hours a week playing games even tried because they didn't know it existed. So I think distribution is king, especially in Web3. And one thing I'll push back on Lems, this idea that there are like too many creature capture games in the world, I think is fucking absurd because it is like the most stale and boring genre of games in the world. Pokemon released in fucking 90 to 5. They released gold and silver in like 98 or maybe it was 2000. And then they were like, fuck it, that's how this game is going to operate forever. You're going to catch a Pokemon, you're going to slap one item on this fucking thing, and there are 4 ways to evolve basically all 151 Pokemon. And then for the next 25 years, we're literally never going to fucking change anything, but we'll remain king through combination of like nostalgia and everybody else who's trying to be a competitor just doing the same shit that we do. Like it's ridiculous. If there's
A
one genre
hundred
of games
percent. I just
that
sorry, Knock.
dude, it's just fucking
Yeah, it's
crazy to me.
crazy,
Like
dude. This if you were to go back to the beginning of when Wildcard first kind of was just a picture in our heads, and we were starting to think about what game we wanted to make most back in, oh my gosh, it was like 6 or 7 years ago. And what we knew was like, okay, we want to just follow this trajectory of RTS. This is for Wildcard I'm talking about. We want to follow this trajectory of like real-time strategy games to things that are more and more accessible. But the other thing that we were so passionate about is exactly what Nock is mentioning. This genre of creature collecting and, you know, whatever you'd call that Pokemon genre, which is really just the Pokemon genre because it's so dominated by Pokemon, is so stale. It's so lacking and compared to how much demand. And we did some of that user research, that market research. It was like, oh my gosh, like, I mean, you all know Pokemon is literally the largest brand in the world, like measured by value, by revenue, by market cap effectively of an IP. If you could do that, Pokemon is considered the largest IP in the world, and it's so underserved. So, like, I mean, we all remember Power World, right? And what happened there. And that we are following and chasing really that exact same thing that Nock was just talking about with Wildcard. We think that there's a tremendous opportunity to innovate in this particular genre, the creature collecting genre. And by the way, I've gotten to see this firsthand. Sorry to jump in, and I'll shut up in a second. When we playtest Wildcard at events, or I get a chance to like playtest it with some new audience, but especially when it's kids, they lose their mind about this. They're just like, oh, thank God, like seeing new creatures that are outside of the existing Pokemon Pokedex that like sort of scratch that same itch, but are in a brand new IP. It's just like, I mean, there's tremendous potential that's underserved, in my opinion, too. I agree with Nock.
Pokemon's a
And that's
bad
why I'm
game.
excited,
Never played
Paul.
it. Never will. Sucks.
Dude, and that's why I'm excited for like Web3 creature like collectors. I think that it's a wide open market. Like this genre sucks. Every single Pokemon game that has been released since Gold and Silver has progressively gotten worse. Every single competitor just copied the format one to one. Like I don't want 1400 more versions of ice cream Pokemon. I want something that is new. I want something that is fun. Maybe it's not Pokemon with guns because that's fun for like 30 hours, but like, if there's a new genre, if there's a genre ripe for disruption in the space, it's creature collectors. And I don't understand like the anti creature collector like idea and stance that everybody takes in this space. I think if you've got a team like Sappy that understands distribution, they have multiple channels of distribution that they can leverage. They're building in a genre that fucking sucks. And we literally only play Pokemon because it's the only option and we've been playing it for fucking 30 years. It's an opportunity to deliver something and get people's eyeballs on something that is new and hopefully shakes up the genre. I'm incredibly hopeful that they deliver something that's fun. And even if they don't, somebody will come along and do it. But yeah, I think it's a major deal, Sam, to get back to the actual question, because these are two teams who have spent 3 years grinding in this space, understanding the ecosystem, and building their brand beyond Web 2 or beyond Web 3. If there's a team that you want to see be successful with a game release, it's one of these two teams for sure, because they've paid their dues in the Web 3 space. They've understood how to break out and build an audience beyond. And if they're going to deliver something, I'm hoping that it's not complete garbage. But even if it's just like good enough, there's still a good chance that they're successful games because, like we just said, Lethal Company sold 10 million copies. That game was like a bunch of fucking stick creatures. I didn't even understand how to play it, and I played like 40 hours of it.
That was a legendary rant. The comments are lighting up with Nox support. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send it over to Jerry. He's going to give us his thoughts. While I'm doing that, I'm going to rotate Knockout for Omnia. Once that's done, we're going to rotate Jerry out for Sinjin. We're going to go around the hands, and then we're going to move on to the next topic because this is getting out off the rails. But Jerry, take it over.
Yeah, I'm gonna push back on a couple of things. I The reason people are not excited about creature collection games is because everybody has just done a one for one copy, right? So it's like when you look at the games industry, creature collector games have fucking sucked since Pokemon Gold and Silver. So that's why people have this like aversion to them, right? The moment somebody did it sort of differently and just gave people guns in a game and then used a marketing rollout that consisted of 3 words, Pokemon with guns, it became the biggest fucking game in the world, right? So, I think like the games industry deserves a little bit of blame for that, right? I think people can do creature collector games, much better. And I hope they do. I really hope they do. My issue that everybody is saying, like, we should be, appreciating new games or new teams that are trying. They minted 4 fucking years ago. Let's not act like these are new teams. Like, they've had a lot of time. And these announcements are just coming out for products that are coming out next year. In the case of Pudgy, they've done some really cool things. I don't follow Sappy Seals as much, but I haven't really seen a ton of rollouts. That's great that they have some Giphy views. The last team Nock told us about that was going to crush it because of what they were doing on other platforms was AOF verse, which got 6 total downloads, right? So that's not a great indicator, I don't think, for what is going to be long-term success for a mobile game, which we're hoping that's going to turn into, increases on token prices and increases for NFTs. So, but I'm with you guys on, like, I want them to take the chance. I want them to, try to do something innovative and something new, and I hope they do. Is it a big deal? It's not, right? I don't think so, because this is at least in the short term, right? I hope they knock it out of the park, but in the short term, there's a lot of other teams who are going to ship stuff this year or early next year that I'm way more excited about. So, I think that's where I land on it. I'll rotate down and I'll go jack off on my friend Skoji.
Hot.
Well, that's a perfect segue to invite. I believe it's Wab behind the Omnia account. Appreciate you jumping in on this. It's been a topic that definitely got away from me, as far as didn't really expect it to be this spicy, but people are really enjoying chiming in. So I'd love to get your perspective. Anything that you think we might be missing as far as our assessment of this, if you wanna inform us on.
Yeah. So yeah, as well behind the account, I think there's a lot of things that were touched on. The two main things I want to touch on is A, the NFT portion and the value of an NFT community and why we're doing the things the way that we're doing them, and B, like the sort of creature collector drama, I guess, in terms of are we diluted? Is there too many and whatnot? I would say, like, on the first point, when it comes to NFTs, I think people here are completely misunderstanding the approach of why these NFT communities are approaching gaming, and the methodical approach as to why we're doing this. So, I mean, first things first, these NFT communities, if you look at Pudgies, if you look at Seals, we have some of the biggest, strongest communities in crypto as a whole. We've touched pretty much every single person in the industry, and most people have interfaced with something that we've done before. We have the biggest cults, we have the biggest distribution within crypto. We're obviously scaling outside of that as well, which is an ongoing thing, and we've racked up hundreds of millions of views on all of our different sort of social platforms and billions on Giphy and whatnot, which I understand that may not be that important to some people, because obviously making a game is very different, but having users that are able to interface with products from the get-go is really, really important for creating a network effect and actually establishing a product. And ultimately what we're doing is building communities first, and then building products afterwards that will then be distributed across our community and used to disperse that and hopefully find success. The way I see this is that NFT communities are very similar to like digital countries, network states, whatever you want to call them, where they're these cohesive groups of people that are super organized, working together, collaborating, pushing out new ideas and accruing wealth, right? And that's ultimately the base that we're sort of onboarding people into and bringing them into. When people interface with Omnia or anything to do with our token or our games or whatever, they always end up, if they really believe in it, they end up becoming a seal. And it's part of that sort of growth of that brand equity and making people deeply care about something and feel like they're a part of something. So that's why, NFT communities are so valuable within this context. And what I'll say is, we're not, I got this sentiment earlier in the space, is people are like, oh, they raised money a couple of years ago and they don't know what to do with themselves. No, it's absolutely not like that in any possible way. What we're doing is building out products once we've built our community that we really believe in, that we think will be great ancillary IPs to strengthening the brand equity that we've already built and will continue to build. And so for us, for our team in particular, we could go and make Sappy Seals the game, right? We could go and do that. I don't think that's particularly interesting. I think we have this, digital economy of individuals that participate, and that's all Seals needs to be. And we can go out and build interesting things that we truly believe in. For context, I used to be very, very into gaming. I was a game dev growing up as well, and I used to compete in esports. And a lot of our team have had a similar story as well. So we do have very deep entrenched knowledge of gaming as a whole, and also competing in it and what sort of exists in terms of game design to make games stick and last longer in the industry. And so we do actually have that knowledge, and we do understand what gaming is about and how to go about it. And so, we believe in Omnia. We think that Omnia is going to be something that is going to disrupt what Pokemon was, and obviously, like, we've tapped into that. I think people saw the trailer, and some people were instantly like, "Oh, it's kind of like Pokemon." Well, it was by design because we wanted to tap into nostalgia. We wanted people to feel something that was familiar but also different, and I think a lot of people got that, and that was a success for us. We're not that far out either in terms of development as well, so you can expect to be playing over this year, and that is going to be, it's within the wing mirror. So that's all coming out as well. And so yeah, I think when you see things like Power World and other sort of creature collector games, it does give a good insight as to how much the world is wanting something like that, because the genre hasn't been disrupted and no one's really succeeded, especially in crypto. If you look at crypto, what monster catcher game or pet collector, whatever you want to call it, what game has actually had wide sort of mainstream success? I can't name a single one. And that means that there's an opportunity there for someone to go and grab that. And I think the teams that are positioned best to do that are probably the ones that have proven that they're able to create something that people care about deeply. And so for us, that would be Sappy, right? Because if you look at Pokemon, one thing that was very valuable was not only the game loop when it first came around, but also I guess the brand building behind it, and the fact that it was something that moved people, that captivated them and kept them interested. And that's something that we're good at as a team and what we've always strived to do. And I think you kind of need both that. You need the game design, you need the strong fundamentals, obviously the tokenomics, and a way to move people and make them feel interested. And I think we've proven ourselves in that regard. So I think there should be a little bit more respect given to the teams that are already existing in crypto, because we have proven ourselves in multiple different avenues that can be sort of put into the sort of gaming basket as to what makes an IP or a game successful. So that's kind of like I tried to tackle a bunch of topics there, and I maybe missed some stuff, but that's like the general overview. And I think obviously we're new players into the gaming space, and we're obviously not interfacing with a lot of people here, but we will be more, and you might get like a better grasp of like who we are, what we're trying to do, and our approach as well.
Appreciate you being willing to forge the fire, and also willing to hang out with us and listen to everything that we had to say, come up, clarify, etc. I see a couple more hands. We do have to move on from this topic shortly. I'm going to send it to Dub behind the Shrapnel account, then we'll give it to Michael O'Connor.
Yeah, and whoops. Yeah, I'll be short with it just because it's a little awkward, because I was gonna dunk on Sappy and now Wab's here and I really like everything that he said. Because for me, like, I'm really bullish on what the Pudgy team has built, and specifically, like, they have products in Walmart that have shown success that are going to get more amplification in Walmart. They brought that over to Target, and I can clearly see a road for them to bring users that discover their IP from those distribution channels straight into that mobile game that they're building. And for me, while I've been in this space, I've always looked at Sappy as trying to be the Coke to the Pepsi that is Pudgy Penguins, while only being like the weird off-brand soda that I came across at the Dollar Tree. I'm excited to see what Omni is all about and how that'll like change my opinion on Sappies as a whole. But overall, I just believe in that distribution funnel a lot more, and interested to see what Web has to say about it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you talk about distribution in gaming, and I've just gone and told you that I have deep connects or our team has deep connects in terms of, gaming and us having a presence there and having a lot of people that we can contact to actually participate in the game and get that out there. And then you're bullish on Pudgy for having distribution in Walmart, which seems slightly incongruent to, making it or distributing their game, when I don't know what the sort of conversion rate is for the product, but I assume it's not significantly high. Otherwise, it probably would have been bull posted more. And in terms of like Walmart deals and whatnot, like for context, like PMI and these other companies that help with these Walmart deals, like they're approaching me, not PMI specifically. I'm speaking to people who are connected to them, but we can get that done if we wanted to. We just haven't, because we didn't want to, because that's not our approach and that's not how we go about things. And I think if you were in the SEAL community more and understood what we were trying to do, you would understand the more sort of on-chain sort of renaissance and sort of community building that we're going for, where we're trying to build out this sort of digital network state that is productive and providing value to people. And I think if you're not in it, you probably wouldn't understand it, which is fine. Of course, we can do more stuff in terms of distributing products and the likes in Walmart and whatnot, but that's not a goal for us. That's not something that we're prioritizing, and we could do it if we wanted to, but we just don't want to go down that avenue. So it's good to I think it's important to understand context as to why certain teams operate in a certain way and why they approach certain things from different angles.
Michael O'Connor, I want to give you the last word if you still have one you'd like to share.
Oh shit, man! No, I don't actually. I've been trying to put my hand down for about 20 minutes, but yeah. Listen, last word is fair play to the lad for jumping on and defending what he's doing. So yeah, all props to you, mate. Jump on, defend what you're doing, keep fighting the fight.
Yeah, shout out to Wab. Appreciate you, man. This last topic is going to be quite interesting for you. We're going to be talking about when can founders actually sell tokens, NFTs, etc., from the project that they've built without getting absolutely flooded by the community. Koji, the hand is up right before they do the ad read. Go for it. Or is this about the founder thing, which we'll get into in a sec?
No, we'll do the founder thing. You do your ad read.
All right, it was treading the icy slopes of innovation. Avalanche is set to unleash a flurry of groundbreaking excitement, transporting the beloved game of MapleStory into the glacial realms of Web3 gaming, promising to plant its cherished saga in the permafrost of Web3 tech. Avalanche is aiming to create a snow-kissed utopia, and as our sponsor, they proudly wear the crown of the official blockchain of Gamified as we get a hot mic. Rising to the icy pinnacle of technological advancement, Avalanche's subnets stand as towering glaciers in the frozen wilderness of tech. So put your snowshoes on and start climbing the mountain of innovation with the kings of bespoke solutions. And built on Avalanche is Shrapnel, where each interaction is an avalanche of adrenaline, each kill a snowstorm of skill. So target your attention on the titan of tactics, the detonator of digital domination, in our official game of Gamified. Get ready to enlist by locking your Shrap token in exchange for metal, setting the stage for your future rewards in their ecosystem. Lock, load, and launch into the fray with Shrapnel, which is powered by none other than the intergalactic planetary intergalactic Stardust, the interstellar official infrastructure of Gamified. This cosmic conduit isn't just a tool, it's a galaxy of genius, a white label warp drive, weaving the straightforward simplicity of Web 2 with the star-studded sophistication of Web 3, navigating the nebula of over 150 chains, harnessing the power of every single EVM, including yours truly, Avalanche. Stardust operates as the supreme starship steward and your in-game golden galactic guardian of your gamers' gains. Big thank you to them for being the official infrastructure of Gamified. Keep this close to the chest. A founder DM'd me the following take. He said, if you published the timelines and the unlocks of your project and stick to that timeline and those unlocks, then it should be okay, especially if the community has a say in those timelines whenever you get the unlock to be able to sell it. Whether it be a token, an NFT, etc. Everyone thinks it's okay, actually hurts their bags. So my question for the panel, should a founder be able to sell at any point after their token is unlocked without repercussions? Or is this social pressure to hold your own token actually a good thing that should continue? I'm going to send it over to Koji first.
Yeah, I mean, so that statement, that's true. The problem is that like the space that we exist in, it's kind of like I don't know, like you're running for class president or something. This is a popularity contest, and really what matters more than what's written down in paper or what you can say a million times and post in every distribution channel and whatever is perception. So as soon as people perceive something is going wrong, it's like it's fucking over for you. The number goes down and everyone's like, I knew it was shit all along, you know. So I think that like in theory, founders can sell whenever they're allowed to sell, but in practice, like you truly like to just continue down this path of vulgarity, like they'll fucking chop your dick off if you try and sell. So I probably wouldn't.
John Oak from Play Ember.
Sorry, man. That was how do you follow that? My only comment on this was, I think, yeah. I mean, I agree. You're going to get roasted a founder no matter what. But what I tweeted about this the other day, what I've seen in my timeline is half the time people don't know what they want. So it used to be that right, the team can't sell, right, maximum maybe 15%. Now I'm seeing shit that says like you know, for a TG that's coming up where the team have got a much bigger than previously acceptable percentage. Oh no, that's cool. Like it's really good that the team have got this larger allocation. It means they're more committed to the project. I mean, what the fuck? Honestly, like, so I think the separate point to what you're saying, Sam, is then okay. Then at what point can they sell? But yeah, I mean, it just changes every week. So I think the way I look at it, again, without being all Web 2 about it, but I've always looked at it and worked with VCs that actually for founders to be able to take a bit of money off the table, like even before you IPO, is not necessarily a bad thing, provided everything else is balanced out, because they can just be more fucking focused on the business because they're not looking over their shoulder every 5 minutes about, you know, yeah, like I'm assuming that this isn't like second, third time founder and they've got like 5 houses, but like let's say first time founder, right? They're just able to be more focused. So to me, there's a lot of logic in that. So I'm not suggesting, like any founder should just be able to dump, but there's got to be a little bit of common sense, right? If you want founders to literally give everything for your project, there's got to be some common sense here in this somehow. So yeah, I think for me, like I would, yeah, I mean, it'll change next week. Someone will come back with the meta will be back to 15% team, like 85% everyone else, and then we'll see all those posts in our timeline. But right now, I'm thinking about changing my tokenomics. I'm going to increase the allocation for my team now. If 25% is now acceptable, fuck. So yeah, I think there's definitely got to be some common sense. But I totally agree with how I'm going to tweet that out. Goji finished off there.
Pushing off anything with the way he's been talking today is stressing me out. I'm going to tag in Knock, and then we had Katie Drake Bettner, the woman herself, join us from the audience as well. And Knock, by the way, is on an alt account because I accidentally banned him from the space whenever I tried to rotate him out.
Yeah, Sam
My bad,
Sam
Knock.
sent me to the Shadow Realm, so now you're all exposed to what happens when I get access to an iPad and perhaps some substances. Meet the awful waffles. Anyway, I think the short answer is if you're in the United States, founders can probably sell about a year after the thing goes live. That's a way that a lot of these teams have set things up for some regulatory issues. But in all realness, I think as a founder, part of me says you're not beholden to explaining to the community when you take a cash position or sell some things. I think that, there's appearances to be made in Web3, but in the traditional Web2 world, like nobody really gets mad if a founder sells off some shares or, one, they don't really know. So I'm not too sure how to feel about this. Like, on one hand, I want founders to get their bag. I want founders to be able to focus on the thing that they're building and not have to worry about the stress of like personal finances while also worrying about the stress of the financial health of a particular business and being able to ship things. On the other hand, I want to avoid gala style situations where there's just like ridiculous spending and PJs to pick up people in multiple cities on the way to an event. To me, like the balance is probably somewhere in the middle. I do agree with what was said, though. I think like the key takeaway here is this: if you're a first or second time founder and you don't have an abundance of wealth from a previous life, I think it's probably fair to cash out a little bit. Make sure that things are secured in your own personal life, and then really lean in and focus on the business that you're building, the game that you're building, the products that you're delivering to the audience without having to worry about like all these real life stressors. Life is fucking difficult outside of building a business. When you build a business and your finances are tied to that of the company, I think that that's incredible amount of additional stress. So I'm perfectly happy with teams setting themselves up with a vesting schedule. Once those tokens are vested, as far as I'm concerned, if you've waited the vesting schedule, you've made that schedule public, you stay true to that schedule, you can dump those fucking things on day one that they vest. I don't care. As long as there is something in place that you are communicating and you're sticking true to what you've outlined as your comp package, whether that be internal business metrics or number of people playing the game or just revenue in general or price metrics of that particular token. I don't care how you set it up. As long as you set up that system, you should be able to sell the first day that those things vest.
All right, we'll see if the rest of the panel agrees. Let's go to Katie Drake Bettner. Then I want to tag in Wab. Curious on his thoughts.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to reiterate that I am on team cute, fuzzy animals that are building new cool shit. So I seriously was just sitting here texting Paul the entire time that you guys were talking about Pudgy and Sappy, saying, "I think it's real. I think it's going to be a big deal." So I'm super excited. I don't know a lot about the Sappy project, but I did just at Consensus meet the designer that's going to be working on the Pudgy project at Mythical, and I think it's legit. On the founders taking profits, uh, as someone who has done this with fiat money, like been in a situation where you made too much money, a shit ton of money, and then spent it on a business, and got down to a pretty uncomfortable level with that. I will tell you this: if founders are like Paul and I are, we then put all that money that we had back into our company during the lean times, didn't take a paycheck for 2.5 years, and then because it's ours, right? So yeah, if you are a first or second or even a third time founder and you can de-risk what you have right now, that then allows you later on to say take a lower comp for a year because you're kind of in the middle of something and you want to use that money for something else. Like, de-risk your personal life so that you can continue to be a risk-taking founder. I think that's part of the benefit that someone has of investing in somebody who is in that way connected, because our money, I used to laugh when Paul would be like, well, we can take a bonus. And I was like, why? We're just going to put the bonus back into the company. Why take it out and put it back in and let it get taxed? So I think it's just kind of it's a personal distinction and decision. But I think that it's actually like bearish not to de-risk as a founder, because you're putting yourself in a position where you're going to be maybe seeking an exit before you otherwise would, just because you didn't de-risk when you had the opportunity.
Damn, Uno reverse card calling us the asshole for not wanting them to sell. That's actually really well said, Katie. I appreciate that perspective. Let's go over to Wab behind the Omnia account. Wab, your thoughts on this one before we go to Sinjin?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you can program whatever you want into tokenomics, right? And that could be the rules in which you sort of act under. But there's obviously the ethical side of things, which is going to affect your company, it's going to affect your community, it's going to affect everything to do with whatever you're doing right now. And people are going to take note of it. And the moment they see you selling or whatnot, they're going to feel some way about it, whether you believe to be correct or not. I think it's more about the signaling and how you communicate that to people. For me, I would say the absolute bare minimum before I would even consider taking profits, if my tokens were vesting, was, have I delivered on the things that I said I was going to deliver on? And if I haven't done that, I'm absolutely not going to sell a single token, because I've raised all this money and I haven't even produced something yet, and I'm already wanting to take profits on said thing. And I think there's a lot of tokens out there, and particularly gaming tokens as well, where the games aren't even out yet and the tokens are starting to vest, and that just seems very insane to me, in terms of you're extracting from your own community before you've even delivered them value. And that doesn't seem like an exchange that I would want to be a part of, especially if I was a community member. So I think that's the only thing that I would probably defend. I think generally it's up to you whether or not you want to sell, and whether or not you see this business or whatever you're building as a short-term thing or a long-term thing. And if you're really going for number one, because everyone that I've known that goes for number one reinvests everything. They're always focused on growth. They're always thinking of, okay, how can I position and strategize to continue growing in the long run and pumping this thing, in other words, like to the moon, right? Because that's what everyone wants, and the price is everything in crypto for the most part. And if you have a high, market cap and whatnot, people are going to respect you more. People are going to pay attention. You're going to have more funding in the long run, and you're going to have a lot more potential to do well in crypto. And that does exist, and that does matter, and we just need to pay attention to that. But as long as you're delivering on your promises, I think it's okay. As long as your tokenomics aren't designed to be egregious, I think as long as you design them in a way where it's fair from the get-go, and you have that guideline, or the ethical guideline of, I'm going to deliver my shit, then it seems fine to me.
Oh, hold on. I just got to push back on that a little bit, because I feel like if you publish a paper that just says look, here are the tokenomics and all the money's coming to me and you get none of it, and people are like, fuck it, I'm in, and give you a ton of money, is at some point they have to take responsibility for that. So whatever the schedules are, whether or not you've delivered is almost immaterial. Would you take a salary from a job if you haven't finished the job? You obviously would. And so this is ostensibly no different than a salary. It's just delivered on a schedule that is hopefully published somewhere for people to see. And it's to be like, well, maybe you shouldn't take it because X, Y, Z seems insane to me. I know that we operate in a space that we laugh at traditional finance, and paperwork is silly, but it exists for a reason.
Yeah, but I think the difference is that equity tends to not be very liquid in traditional companies, and effectively what you're doing is selling equity. And to me, I don't think that is necessarily what I would consider a salary. Now, I think obviously equity can be included in compensation packages for sure, but I do think they're very different things. And sure, If you have that opinion, you can have that opinion, and I don't disagree with it. I'm just saying you're going to sacrifice community optics, and that will ultimately hurt you in the long run more. And my way of thinking about these things is, how can we optimize for the long run?
So it is a security.
I don't want to. I don't. Let's not do this. Like, I don't want to do this.
That was a tricky one. All right, Sinjin, over to you.
Yeah, I think it all depends on whether or not you are a rat on a sinking ship and everyone knows they're rats. And then, the founders are looked at like, are you going to actually keep playing this game and not think you're a rat? Or do the founders think like, well, I built this fucking sinking ship that was just fucking launched on the water. It's fucking sinking. I want to get the fuck off this ship as well. Right. And so it's like certain projects already have that kind of mentality where even if the people who have invested in it are saying, hey, like we invested in a legit project. The reality is probably around like, let's be nice and say 50% of projects that are launching in this space, everyone looks at the TGE as, the exit for every single person. And, if that project, really is just meant to be as much value, extracted at TGE, then of course the founders want to get off the fucking sinking ship as well, right? It's not a matter of de-risking profits. Let's be honest here. Like, how many of these crypto projects in any sector actually have profits, right? This is the kind of profit moment. But if you're like looking for the long term and you're looking out to build, right? Yourself as a founder, like you are going to put a vesting schedule there that's going to reflect your commitment to building, an aircraft carrier. So I think it all depends. Like there a nuance of like once you get past the TGE, right? Like how much further confidence do you want to give to investors that you as a founder who has vested shares, right, or vested whatever tokens or whatever like that, is not selling because you're confident that the token price and the project is going to move forward more so, right? But the reality is that everyone is looking for an exit in this space more so than anything else, and the difference is, as the previous speaker mentioned, it's different than like traditional equity. Like the tokens are meant to be liquid, right? It's like this kind of reverse IPO situation. And so in that particular case, like the incentives are kind of fucked up because if you believe that on TGA and at the beginning of the project where, the product hasn't launched, it has, the road to profitability is still kind of up in the air, right? Then why wouldn't you want to join all the other fucking rats that are on this fucking singing ship to get the fuck off, right? Even as a founder, right? So I think, it just really calls that if you are a founder and you have a strong community and you really believe, okay, it's going to be better in a couple of years, right? As a founder and the communities, like nobody would actually want to sell, even if they did have, the ability to vest. But the reality is that's not the case. So I would say a lot of the times the outrage is there. It's like, okay, you're kind of breaking the illusion. Okay. We're rats. So we want to get the fuck off this ship. Right. But if you're the fucking rat too, and if you, declare that you want to get off the fucking ship as well, then the entire project's fucked anyways. So, let us get off the fucking ship first, and then you can do whatever the fuck you want to do afterwards. Right. As long as we're happy. Because everyone always says in this space, oh, I fucking got rugged by the founders, or this was actually really a scam or whatever. Like, I can't believe I got fucking burned. But the reality is everyone knows this kind of coming in the game that there is this Ponzonomics going on. So, it all really depends on the outlook.
Jerry chiming into the comments with a really great one. He says people flipped out whenever they found out Johnny Riccatello sold Unity shares, even though they had to do so on a schedule that was predetermined months in advance. He says, I think the same model for selling stocks should be followed, predetermined and on a schedule. Michael O'Connor, I'll tag you in.
Yeah, I mean, that largely is the case that most vesting schedules are based on previous vesting schedules for, like, for example, employment equity programs. So people didn't build these vesting schedules from nowhere. I mean, there's like decades of like basically systemic policies that have been put in place that have inspired this. Well, I just want to first of all point out that what Katie said earlier on resonates with me immensely. The idea of like just putting your heart and soul into these things constantly. And for me personally, it's been, everything that we put in, and for my co-founder as well, we're going on to the next, to the next project with, and we keep building and keep building, and that is like, that's an emotional challenge that you deal with as as someone who's building companies and who's building products constantly. So yeah, I just like Katie. I feel you 100% on that, and Paul, respect as well for what you guys have done is super cool. Um, the thing is, I don't know how you could ever be in any way annoyed over someone controlling their own assets as contractually stipulated. Like, that's why the contract's there. It's up to people to do whatever the fuck they want with what is contractually stipulated, you know? Um, of course, you've got to be careful with optics and stuff like that. But actually, for most of those things, you've got OTC deals and stuff like that. So there's ways of managing optics and all those kind of situations, you know? But for me, it's like, let people do what is contractually agreed, and it's totally up to them, you know? And don't forget here as well that when founders, most of the time anyway, for when teams, this is not just true for tokenomics, this is true for, vesting schedules on even founder shares as well. The people who eat last are the founders, just to be clear here, right? The people who get the longest terms with the most aggressive processes and policies are the founders, you know? So don't begrudge people for whatever they decide, especially if it's all contractually agreed, it's all above board, and everyone knew about it in advance. You know, just seems fair, logical.
Very level-headed take. Let's send it. Coachy hot micing us. Let's send it to Lems, then over to Knock.
No, real quick. I have to go pick up my daughter from daycare. I want to say thanks for having me. This is a great topic. I wish I could hear the rest of it. I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Koji. Appreciate you, man. Give your daughter our best. Lems, over to you.
All right, first I'll say I love how John has the optimism that people can use common sense in this space, because people really can't. Like, common sense is pretty hard to find. It really should be uncommon sense in this space. And I think overall, like, the points have been made. Like, there's schedules that are vesting and people have to go and wait time for their tokens to vest. But I guess compared to like some traditional companies, there'll be milestones and things like that. And unfortunately, not everyone in this space is ethical. Everyone on this panel here is talking about like the ethical things to do and building a business for the long term. Not everyone is like that in this space. We just talked about someone at the start of the show who was all about max extracting value. Do you think they cared about, reaching milestones and delivering things before their tokens unlocked and then they started exiting? I don't think they really did. So we don't have milestone unlocks, and then that kind of gets back into the whole legal argument of securities if there was like milestone unlocks, which is again an unfortunate part of being in this space. But really, it's not that different in terms of people looking at things from a narrative perspective. Like big public companies, people look at when the CEO sells stocks. I think the big difference there is the companies are so big and they've already, they're successful, like an Amazon, like a Bezos selling stocks. People fudding or complaining online isn't going to move the needle because Amazon's a massively successful company. Here, we're in a space that's a lot smaller and everyone hyperfixates on every little detail and looks at everything that you're doing. And because the market caps are much smaller, it has a much larger impact. So I think that's part of the problem. But it comes back to controlling the narrative. Like, if you can control the narrative and paint a picture as to why it's okay, then people will be okay with it. But if you try and do it and then people kind of are like secretly or something and people find out about it, or you just start selling and people don't know why you're selling, that's when you'll get flooded to death. And then because the space is so narrative driven, then that can have that spiraling effect on your token price, because then people are all like rushing to the exit. So really, there are some comparables to traditional companies, but then it is a little different in this space because we are hyper attention focused, and then the market caps are a hell of a lot smaller.
I'm going to give you guys a free NFT idea, okay? A collection where it's 5 NFTs. There's like common sense, uncommon sense, rare sense, legendary sense. You go down the list, except for common sense is actually the legendary one, and legendary sense is actually the common one, okay? It'll do millions, boys. It'll do millions. Sending it to Knock, then to Sinjin again.
Yeah, I mean this in like the absolute best way possible. I'm not a founder. Definitely aspire to be one, but I would say that like choosing to be a founder in Web3, in Web3 gaming, should probably be like a certifiable mental illness. It is a ridiculously difficult thing to do. Like, and I know that most of the panel probably feels the same way. It is a ridiculous thing to do because you're here trying to provide and create value for an ecosystem, and the idea that you shouldn't be able to reap some of those benefits along the way is absurd to me. Like, the concept of like me, putting money into a TGE, immediately dumping on day one, and then saying, hey, the founder shouldn't be dumping because that's bearish, is ridiculous, because the founder is the one who created that fucking value in the first place. The idea that they shouldn't be able to eat while they're delivering this product is just so like ass backwards to me. I mean, listen, if you're taking a risk, if you're the one putting the risk up front, you should be having disproportional rewards that are taking place, right? You should be able to sell token along the way. You should be able to do these things to make sure that you are de-risking your own personal lives. Like, to ask a founder to come into this space and build product and create a bunch of value for all of us, for us to dump with absolutely zero loyalty. The minute price goes down, we start, yeah, fuck these guys, this team is terrible, they're rugging, they're doing this. I might bitch and complain to Sam that I lost some money on a particular NFT collection, and Sam might say, yeah, you know what, I did too. But to the founder, that conversation is 100-fold, and it's directed at them. So the idea that they have to come in, provide value, take all the heat when times are down, take all the heat when macroeconomic conditions are fucking up the market for them. So many Solana teams built in early 2021 came into like the craziest series of events with FTX and a whole bunch of other shit that happened with Solana. Solana price tanks, the tokens, their SPL tokens tank, alongside Solana, and now founders are sitting there going, holy fuck, like I had like $10 million 3 weeks ago, and now I've got nothing, and I don't even know if my collection is going to survive. So a responsible founder is, de-risking some of that. They're taking some of the profits on their own personal token. They're transferring some of their own treasury token into stablecoins so that when those difficult times come, you have money to actually build up what that product is and build up the ecosystem again. Like, we're thankful that teams like Star Atlas and Honeyland and Genopets survived that market, right? But they did so in part because they did a lot of de-risking, and even then they still got fucked by things that were outside of their control, right? But because they were smart, they're around today, they're delivering product, they're still able to build and drive value towards that ecosystem. So if you're a founder and you're taking this risk and you're taking in money from VCs and you have pressure from literally everybody and their mother, you should be able to reap the benefits of the hard work that you're putting in, especially because you're providing value and creating value for people who are taking financial risks in you, who have absolutely no loyalty to you or your product or to your brand. They want to come in, they want to make a bunch of money, and then they want to fuck off and find the next founder that they can leech off of. So for me, if you're responsible with it, you're putting in metrics, you're making sure that there are benchmarks that are publicly communicated, and you're keeping things above board from like a legal and ethical POV, I don't care if you dump those tokens as they vest at the first of every month. I don't give a shit. As long as you're a founder who is committed to continuing to build, I don't think I should be able to tell you what you're doing with the value that you created for yourself as well as for your entire ecosystem. And I hope that you're de-risking your own treasury as well, and you're not holding your own token, and you're putting some of that token into stables so that when inevitably some macroeconomic condition comes in and fucks up the entire market and your token is down 90% due to no fault of your own, you've got money to get through those hard times and continue to drive value to that product so that we all win again in the next cycle. So founders should be able to be rewarded, but they should do it in a very public and a transparent sense, and they should be communicating these things from day one.
Appreciate the take, Knock. I'm going to ask you to kick us off with your voting for the MVP of the show. We're going to keep going through the hands. I'm going to get everybody's MVP vote, and then that person's going to get 30 to 60 seconds to plug whatever they want. Knock, who gets your vote?
Well, Koji left, but it was Koji because he brought a ridiculous amount of fire to the episode today.
All right, we'll take it. If it ends up being Koji, I'll give him 60 seconds next time around. Sinjin, I'm sending it over to you. Give me your take, and then also give me your vote.
Yeah, really quickly, I think I completely agree with everything that Lem said. And then towards what Knock has said, like, in the sense that, like, this is what the situation is. Maybe we didn't all understand what Web3 meant when we entered into it, but basically it's basically a public market, like as if you're making a public company, right? And so the narratives absolutely fucking matter. So whether it's vested or not vested, or whether or not you have the option to do it, or so on and so forth, or when you're making your tokenomics and then you're showing how much percentage you have and stuff like that, you have to take in consideration this is all done in public. The difference is with public companies, right? There's a kind of threshold where like 3 years of profitability and X amount and so on and so forth. Whereas we're in this industry where none of those things really are there. It's just a matter of the narrative. And, you know, if that's the game that you're going to play, I mean, then the reason why we're all playing it here isn't for, it shouldn't be for, you know, whatever sustenance living or making some kind of profit here, but for this asymmetrical opportunity, whether it's returns or, you know, making your mark or pushing the space forward. And so these are the risks that you take. And as a founder, you know, you need to de-risk your life as much as you can, but, you know, relying on this company or this project in this kind of environment to de-risk your personal like finances, unfortunately founders like, fuck man, you know, you've came into fucking hell and you got to fucking deal with it. And if you're going to choose whether you're going to de-risk and you're going to like stabilize your finances to as much degree as you can over that of your company, I mean, that is a choice you're going to have to make because it's so public. I like to give my vote to Lems. I think he's always on point and he's always willing to take the counterpoint on these things.
You love to hear it for both sides of it. Let's give it back to Swagner, Michael Wagner from Star Atlas, giving your perspective on Can Founders Sell and also your MVP of the episode.
Yeah, man, this is my favorite topic. I'm actually sad I had to miss the last 20 minutes on a call, but I'm sure it was a pretty spicy topic all around. I did hear, I think it was Beats or Bates, kind of right when I jumped back in, and I think he touched on two very important points, which is narrative and ethics. So I do want to distinguish here because I know the topic is primarily around can founders sell or should they sell, or you know what are like qualifications for doing so, but I also want to approach this from the organization standpoint as well. I think I'm particularly well suited to talk about this because we had major impacts to Automata, our studio, back in 2022 and 2023, related to our position and specifically my strategy around not token selling. You know, a lot of people know that we got hit by FTX late 2022. That was a $15 million hit to our balance sheet. But what most people aren't aware of is that I took the position that we're early stage development. A lot of people are putting trust and confidence in us in a long-term vision that is going to take, you know, an exceptional amount of time to bring to fruition. And so we had created essentially the only token sync in our product suite at the time was by enabling users that held Atlas token to come in and buy assets from us. That was about it. That was the complete loop. We didn't have the rest of the game mechanics built. And I said, well, until we get a substantial amount of our game development completed, we're not going to go out and take the tokens from the single sync and sell those right back into the market. We're going to hold those because that is essentially users demonstrating confidence in us. And the net impact of that was to the tune of minus $65 million in unrealized losses against those tokens because, you know, bear market hit, everything went down 95%. So, you know, everybody thinks that FTX was a major event for us, and it was, but just the simple fact that I said, we're not going to sell, even though token prices are going down, and I see my balance sheet taking a major hit month over month. I don't think it's ethical or appropriate for us to be selling right now until we get far enough along in our development roadmap to do so. All of that being said, I think it's completely reasonable for these teams to sell tokens off corporate treasury wise to fund whatever it is that they're building. Now, in our case, gaming, funding the studio, paying salaries, continuing the development, and bringing the vision to life. Because if you're not doing that and the game or the project ultimately fails, well, you didn't benefit anybody by not selling. You just, you know, you indirectly rugged your users. So we are in a position now, and I'm very transparent, open about this. It's all on chain, but we're in a position now where we just use Jupiter DCA functions. We're on Solana, and so every hour on the hour drip function, small amount of tokens sold, right? So it's just this consistent recurring cash flow that comes into the company, and we're also still we now have a number of additional syncs, but we still collect a significant amount of our revenue in the Atlas token itself. So it just creates the slag, but key point on the organization side is I think it's perfectly acceptable. However, going back to that narrative point, your users will look at you and say, why are you selling tokens? We still get people that ask us, why are you selling tokens right now? And it's because, like, dude, we have a huge burn rate. We have a massive studio. It's very expensive to operate, and we want to succeed here, and you should want us to succeed as well, right? So timing is important. It's one of the reasons why I didn't sell in 2022 was that narrative of, oh, these guys are just dumping on us as soon as they get the tokens, right? So you have to manage for that. On the founder side, and I can kind of wrap up here, but on the founder side, I think there's probably an even higher standard than I would hold for the organization itself. I think it's worth emphasizing here that founders are taking a extreme amount of risk in building a company in this space, especially if you're US based, which we are, with all of the regulatory uncertainty out there, without clear guidelines on how to operate, doing the best that we can to conform to any laws and regulations that are out there, but we're still taking these huge risks on building a company itself. With that said, you don't want to be predatory on your users. Part of building a company is building the value within that company. And in a traditional sense, you're typically building company to either a next round or next capital raise, or ultimately going to that IPO phase, which is when the founders are able to cash out. When you have a mature product that's ready for a mainstream or mass audience, and you've created sufficient value, that's how you capitalize on all of the effort that you've created. So from my personal standpoint, and not that everybody needs to do this, but my personal standpoint is I'm a massive holder of tokens and assets within our own ecosystem. Despite the fact that I come from wealth management and that I advise people on how to diversify their risk and assets, I've essentially put all of my money and everything into Star Atlas. It's the worst thing. Like, anybody else that came to me, any client, I would say, do not do that. Like, you need to diversify that risk out. I'm literally all in Star Atlas. But even even in spite of that, um, we really need to establish that we've created value for everyone else that is participating within our project, within the Star Atlas ecosystem. And so I've never sold any of the tokens. I've only accumulated tokens through time, and I've put my own personal capital into buying tokens and assets because I believe in us that much. And so well, I wouldn't discourage anyone from taking profits along the way if you are producing value, and that is creating ubiquitous value for everyone else that's participating. I think that's acceptable. But I do think that is kind of a core requirement, is you need to be increasing in value and not necessarily dumping into down markets as an individual.
God damn, that was my favorite take of the episode. Honestly, referencing all of your personal experience there really, really, really makes it easy to wrap your head around both sides of the equation. I think that was amazingly well put. Somebody clip it, put it on
I'm
Twitter. Wagner gets my vote for MVP. Who's
I'm
your
gonna
vote?
have to give it to Koji as well. My hand went up and down multiple times. His hot take though on announcements and timelines behind game development. I'm not going to go into an extended response here, but there's a lot of animosity even here on this panel around like development timelines and when we make announcements. I think that's part of the journey, man. It's part of the fun. Opportunities exist in between the lines, and that's what we're all here for. And we're creating not only gameplay experiences but economic opportunities for people. So I think it's great to bring them in early and get them involved in the process, and provide them with these opportunities along the way.
You're the fucking man.
Wagner helping us. Wagner helping us end on an absolute banger. Appreciate that. Jay, I'm going to give you the last word only because you were the MVP of a previous week. Give me your take on founders and when they can sell, and also give me your take on MVP of
You know,
of
I
the
was
day.
gonna come up here and say all the things Wagner just dropped. So instead, I'm just gonna give you the double MVP because he and I have ridden in the same similar roads for the past couple years in Solana, and I think I can only echo everything you said. I was gonna give my MVP to Knock because while I knocked Knock, I quickly came around to Knock as he shared some love and perspective in his last take just before Wagner came up. But Wagner, welcome to your first Gamified. Love to see you here and hope to see you more. Join our friends chat on Telegram too. Thank you for being here and dropping all the knowledge. Only can 100% agree with everything you said.
I'm surprised Man Meet John Hook didn't get any votes. What the fuck are you guys listening to?
Jerry, who's your MVP?
Yeah, John Hook, dude. I don't know. Everybody else had horrible takes this episode. John, you're the fucking man. You killed it.
I wrote that though.
Well, yeah, no, no. All right, Sam, you're the MVP. Okay, do you need that? Is that what you need? Sam's the MVP, but John was the MVP of this episode.
Jerry definitely watches like a puppet show and believes the puppets are real. He's like, oh yeah, that guy's awesome. I fucking love that
Yo,
guy.
what
That guy's
what
so
just
cool.
happened?
Do you see that guy?
What just happened?
He still thinks that Stone Cold Steve Austin could kick the shit out of Conor McGregor. He's like, if only he was
That's
in the
true. That's
cage.
true.
Andy, who's your MVP of the day?
Koji, because I heard him sing at Consensus and it was like listening to heaven in audio form. It was great.
Jesus Christ, we're off the rails. Michael O'Connor. Man down. John Hook, Mr. Man
I
Meat
think for
himself.
me,
Sorry. Go ahead, Michael.
yeah, no, I'm going to give it to Koji for the really bizarre, delightful takes. Much love, Koji.
Ah, man, the 1 week he wins, he's going to be gone for it. John Hook, who you got?
I'm going to knock, man. Like he needs to start like a founders PR agency / therapy group. Just like appreciate you, Knock. Always love your takes, man.
As long as they're not Yuga related. Knock, who you got?
I kicked this off, Sam. I don't know if you remember, but I gave it to Koji.
Dude, the real
I have
MVP,
short-term memory loss.
real MVP is the awful waffles. Let's be real.
You goddamn right.
All right. We got Dub and then we got Lems. Dub, who you giving it to?
All right, Dub's dead, so I'm just going to go. I'm going to say an honorable mention to Jack for his amazing memes. Check the latest one he just did; it is fucking hilarious. I give my my MVP to Knock, half because he moved Consensus to Toronto, so it'll be easy for me to go next year, and half for the good takes on the panel.
I know we're running over with this episode, so some people had to jump onto meetings, probably why they're not responding. Ed Chang, if you're still with us, give us your MVP.
Michael Wagner, welcome to the show. Great takes, level-headed. I liked it.
All right, since Koji's out, let's give it to Swagner. Swagner, take your 60 seconds, plug whatever you want, big dog. I hear some PFPs are on the horizon.
Oh, damn, dude. That's freaking awesome. Yeah, I will hype up the PFPs. So it's not just PFPs. We're launching these crew packs. We just did a pre-sale, completely sold out in 24 hours. The launch is coming up real soon. The Star Atlas crew members are not only your PFP on social media, it's your in-game avatar in Unreal Engine. It's crafting crew members in Sage, our RTS 2D MMO in browser, and it's also your companion in the Star Atlas mobile fitness trainer application, which is a move to progress. What's really cool about all of these is they're all interoperable. Doesn't matter which environment. You can go level them up in the mobile app, go use them in Sage, go use them in Unreal Engine, compete in races, and outperform other players because you've been out there hitting the run, hitting the weights, doing some walks, going on a bicycle ride, and getting your crew in shape to go participate in those races. So that's the big thing coming up in a couple of weeks here. So thanks very
I'm
much.
so dying for Move to Earn Atlas, bro. I'm
coming.
so excited to hear it.
It's here.
Yeah, I need one, Michael. Tell me how to buy one.
So they're not available yet. We will be announcing soon in the coming weeks exactly how you can get them. But otherwise, it's play.staratlas.com. It'll be on our marketplace. Little alpha reveal, we're partnering with Tensor on this as well. So secondary trading on the PFPs, once you buy these crew packs, will exist at least exclusively at first on Tensor. Really cool. So our mint is 7.5 million crew, which sounds like a lot. Most of those are going to be across the first four rarities, so common, uncommon, rare, and two of the rarities are legendary and anomalous. There's only 10,000 legendary and 50 anomalous across all of those. So get out there, buy your crew packs of 5, open them up, see what you get.
You love to hear it. Not only does he have interesting things to say, he also keeps it under 60 seconds until Fresco goads him on, so I won't hold it against him.
Sorry.
By the way, have you ever heard of Avalanche? Not merely a participant, but a pioneering powerhouse in the blockchain universe. collaborating with some of the most electrifying entities in esports and entertainment, with partnerships that span from the strategic synergy with TSM Blitz to the dynamic realm of Korean esports with the Titan T1 to the nostalgic nuances of Maple Story. They're not just part of the game, they're leading the revolution, making monumental moves that meld the magic of gaming with groundbreaking tech, thanks to our sponsor Avalanche and the official blockchain of Gamified. And reload, regroup, and rally around as we salute Shrapnel, the strategic superstar spearheading the pulse of Web3 gaming. They're the architects of your arenas, the guardians of your gameplay, our sponsors, and the official game of Gamified. If you're looking to get involved, there's no time like the present. Shrapnel continues to add more opportunities to engage, earn, and be rewarded. You can jump in right now to the Lunatics in their Discord, highly recommended. And by the way, earn some metal, find out about Mercury, and get some ecosystem rewards. And before we power down, let's spotlight Stardust, the stellar scaffold of Gamified. Don't miss their latest cosmic creation, Stardust, innovative user acquisition tool. Stardust is dazzling more gamers than ever, capturing hearts and handles at a cost that's nearly cosmic dust. Stardust transforms this dream into a reality by precision targeting the perfect players for your platform at just the right moment. So keep your games gleaming and your player counts climbing. Let Stardust sprinkle its stellar secret sauce in your strategies, supercharging your success. Huge thank you to our sponsor Stardust for being the official infrastructure of Gamified, and of course our illustrious panel. Jay for coming up out of the blue. Mr. Swagner winning MVP his first week ever on Gamified. Absolutely excellent having you, bro. I'd have you back anytime. My co-host with the most, Mr. Lems, Dub behind the Shrapnel key, but the Shrapnel account. Dub, earlier you said something, I won't repeat it, but you said something that have got like 10 DMs about you being fucking hilarious. So shout out, minor MVP will give you quote of the day on that one. Andy behind the Stardust account, Mr. John Hook from Play Ember, Sinjin making it, even if his alarm was set for the wrong time. He still showed up. I bet it's like 4 a.m. over there. Jay from Geno Pets. We had Knock, who I booted, and he had to come from the other account, and he still made it back. We had Wab come up, etc. Huge shout out to everybody that makes this show so special. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Love you guys.